Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio.
We are still spilling the tea.
And committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman,
Live, direct.
it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
People talking. What are they talking about? This world's gone crazy, and I'm trying to find a way out. Nobody knows where we're going, or if we're going at all. Nobody cares if we stand, if we have nowhere to fall. talking about? This world's gone crazy, and I'm trying to find a way out. Nobody knows where we're going, or if we're going at all. Nobody cares if we stand, if we have nowhere to fall. It's a singing symphony, playing as the ship goes down. It's a porcelain epiphany, breaking if it hits the ground. I gotta find a way out. So many questions answered without an answer to tell. Too many things on my mind for anything to go well. It's a singing symphony, playing as the ship goes down. It's a porcelain epiphany, breaking if it hits the ground. I gotta find a way out. Oh, it's a singing symphony, playing as the ship goes down. It's a porcelain epiphany, breaking if it hits the ground. I gotta find a way out.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, beautiful people. Ooh, who's that pinging me? Good morning, K-Man. How are you guys doing? It's a beautiful day right here in paradise. But paradise has cracks. Yes, I'm good, honey chow. Good morning. Yes. Okay. Or cracks. All right. We get some breaking news this morning. Ooh, honey child, go tell your friends to turn it on, because I'm going to have to bring it to you. We have Dr. Carlos, who will be joining us. Big shout out to Dr. Carlos. It is Wednesday. So we will have Dr. Carlos in the studio. Prepare. Okay. All right. So good morning. Good morning to one and good morning to all. So I got a couple of things that I'm working on, as you guys know. All right. So we are working towards September the 1st quite diligently. This person said, I hear you now, honey chow. We're working towards September 1st quite diligently in terms of getting our CMR TV ready for our secondary upload. So we've done one launch already, as we said, June 30th. My apologies. And that was in relation to, bringing on another daily show, which, I mean, you guys might think that's not a big deal, but hello, it's a big deal. It takes a lot of work to do 2 daily shows and things. Now we're a month in. You know, it's good to phase things in so that you are addressing any issues. And so I just want to give you guys the run of show for the next couple of days. I am having my knee surgery tomorrow. It's a keyhole surgery, which is laparoscopic, I think, and it's a lot less invasive. I know a lot of you are thinking that I'm having. A lot of you is like, oh no, I'm not having the big surgery where they're doing like knee replacement or anything like that. No. That's not what this is. So this is, they're going to go in and I don't know. The doctor said it takes him about 10 minutes to do what he has to do. But, you know, the whole thing is a lot longer than 10 minutes, obviously. So I have a meniscus tear that has probably been there since May. And that tear just is making my life challenging. I've had a tear before on the other knee, towards the back of the knee, but apparently the meniscus kind of envelopes the entire knee. And so it's not just one specific area. And so where the tear was the last time, I was told then, you know, leave this tear alone because it's going to heal on its own. It takes a while, but that's fine. This particular tear, given the location, does not heal on its own. And so there is a real, there's a real threat of it tearing even more and not doing well and making my life even more miserable. I'm gonna need some tea this morning. I've been having some problems with my stomach as well. So, what a hot mess. I'm gonna probably have to see the gastroenterologist either today or shortly after my surgery. I'm not so sure if they can fit me in today. But anyway, so we decided, having looked at it, because the good doctor thinks that it's actually, in his opinion, it's possibly a, you know, like torn kind of in both ways. And so he has to go in there and see what he can do. Try to sew it back. That's one fix. And the other option is potentially, is potentially just to, they might have to shave it off. Which, I mean, the meniscus offers protection around the knee. So ideally, you don't want to shave it, but sometimes you will have no choice. Yeah. So you got to do what you got to do. Because I was saying to a lady yesterday, ran into her, and she was having some neck pain. She looked like me a couple months ago. Remember when I had that neck episode? And she's like, oh my God, I can't even move. And, you know, it looked painful. And so big shout out to Health City. They're going to be back next month. Remember, they take a summer vacay. So they're coming back next month in September. One of the takeaways I really have gotten from them is I don't ignore my health as much as I used to. Yeah, you know, and I think that's also youthfulness. You think, it's nothing. But chill, honey, chill. When I sit here hearing them talk about symptoms of this, that, and the next thing, you know, my little brain is like, irks. Yeah, we ain't gonna be taking no chances. So I don't know what's going on with my stomach. I don't know if I picked up something while I was away. I have had some medication changes. I was taking Voltaren, which that was my first time taking it. There's been some changes with my BP meds and stuff as well. So I'm not really sure what's going on, but I just know that my stomach has been behaving very, very differently. Even now, as I'm speaking to you guys, it's rumbling and tumbling and making all kind of noise. I'm like, oh, honey child, settle down. And then, you know, I'm more likely to notice patterns and pay closer attention now to my health, thanks to the good folks over in Health City. Yeah, so my bowel movement, not TMI, but they're very frequent. And I was a person who used to when I once I landed in the HR because of my stomach. I hadn't gone to the bathroom, but I didn't realize that that's what it was. So when I got there in the emergency room, they were like, they did their test or whatever, and they like, basically I had a bad bout of constipation is what it was. So I was like, oh, you mean to tell me I'm literally full of it? And they just were like, looking at me like, yeah, girl, we got to give you something to deal with this. But the amount of stomach pains and cramping I was having from that, I'm like, oh my God, I think my appendix ruptured or something. They're like, no, that's not an appendix rupture. That's when was the last time you went to the bathroom question? I was like, oh shoot. So now it's like 3 times a day. And I'm just like, what the hell? And it's not just the frequency, because I mean, maybe if you're eating more fiber, that might happen, but it's also that my stomach is cramping. So I think it's possible that maybe in Florida, I picked up some kind of, because all kind of stuff going around the place. I might have picked up a little bug. It might be medication that's kind of throwing off my gut. What do you call it? Your gut microbes and stuff. Because as it turns out, your gut microbes are very, very important to your overall health. They impact everything now. It seems like they're realizing they are an indication of a lot of stuff, including your brain health, Parkinson's, dementia, your heart health, like everything. So you got to pay attention to your gut quite literally. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy. I say, good luck to you. At least you luck out on me, because they say I don't have a meniscus at all. Mine are gone.
What?
So, yes, that's why from January last year I've been debating this. I got to go to my orthopedic on Saturday.
So where does it go? You mean it's just...
I don't know. But he says that's the thing.
Oh, my God.
I got to get surgery, but I debating it because I don't want to do it. And I was asking him about the keyhole surgery. Same thing that you... But my friend get that in your heart, and my skin kind of heals good too. But that's why I'm debating on this big old chalk. I called it a chalk, but he said no, that there's no nothing so far for him to do the laparoscopic, what you call it. They have to actually open my knee, and he showed me the fist and take out, like the middle bone that you got in the fist. He showed me that. He said, my gotta come up and they gotta put a plate in mine, and that's why the debating. I gotta go on Saturday to see my orthopedic. Mine not so bad now, but what happens to me is I afraid I fall down, because that thing gives out on me without notice.
Oh my
gosh. And that's why when I get out of a vehicle or anything, I try to hold on, that in case it give up, because sometimes that just go poof and just bend underneath me.
Oh my goodness.
One time I nearly get killed but I don't want that big old cut. I tell them, I'm not putting.
So are they recommending knee replacement? Like, what are they saying that you need?
Yeah, that's why I gotta get the plate, a plate put into my knee. That's what Dr. Larson said. They done MRI and also,
that's Dr. Allen. Know him, nice guy.
Dr. Larson at the hospital.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, but he said he gonna assist, but he not gonna be the one doing my surgery. It's gonna be Dr. Bogle, which I see him, but I never ever, and I met him yet. But I don't have. I think if they give me a shot on Saturday, I think I don't have like about 4 cortisone shots.
No, and I'm going to tell you now, you need to stop, because the medical evidence shows that you end up doing more damage to the knee when you continue with these cortisone shots. So 3 is kind of the max that I've heard them recommend over the lifetime of a knee that you want to do.
Already had
you're going to have to do surgery.
I even had one in my shoulder.
Oh my God, I've had that before. It's so painful. I've had one. I've had one in my shoulder and in my elbow at the same time. And the elbow, I think, was the most painful. And I held on to that nurse for dear life. Poor her. I was squeezing her to death.
He called me his young girl because he said, I'm the only one of all his patients and came on that he give them needles that they don't cry. I tell myself, well, I'm not so covered,
Well, I'm happy to admit to that. I cried that day. Especially that one in the elbow. I was like, oh my God, this is so painful.
Strong, and he told me, he said, you're strong. He said, you're strong.
Yeah, I'm not strong sometimes. I'm like
He
a
called me
baby.
he called me his young girl.
Oh no, I was crying. I was like, oh, I was holding on to her as it was going in and tears running down my eyes. But thank you so much, Michelle. And listen, you got to do
Yeah,
what you got to do when it comes to your health. I mean,
my meniscus is zero, and if you look at it's in my left leg, and if I put my two legs together, you can see that bulge in the back by the bend of your leg. You can see. Mine is they say I don't have a meniscus. Mine is gone. But I think I was saying this meniscus. I think I'm trying to make them explain. I think that the cartilages or whatever they say that you got in your knee, and that's the thing that cushions around your bone. And apparently mine is gone. I don't have none. I tell him I have to walk it out because I never ever drove. He was laughing, but that's the problem. But I've been debating from last year, January, they telling me, and he said that's the only thing that helped me. But then I kind of afraid because some people claim that it helps, and then some say you'd be worse. So all it is, I don't know. But when
I can tell you that, it depends on what it is though, because the knee is a very complex, area, just like probably anything else in the body. So not all injuries are the same. So when some people say, oh, I had a knee surgery, what they might have done is very different. But I'm going to have Dr. Naranjan on to talk about this because meniscus tears are actually quite common, believe it or not. And so you're absolutely right. It's a crescent-shaped piece of cartilage that's in the knee joint that acts as a shock absorber and helps to stabilize the knee. So if you don't have any at all, you really need to, follow the doctor's advice and get that that sorted out. And apparently there's two in every knee. So there's one on the inside and there's one on the outside, the lateral and the medial. So, and I think that's what the doctor said. He actually thinks I have both a lateral and a medial tear in mine. So I'm like, oh, Jesus. Anyway, leave me there with that one.
That's why they did the MRI to detect exactly what my problem is. And that's what he said. But I don't know, I'm debating it to run it as long as I can. My friend, she had both of hers done. And she got out, and I said, but I tell her, I'm going to do the two one time. And she said she almost went through. But I said, do one first. And she said, no, she want to do the two, and she done the two. But thank God she doing better now. So you brave the two one time. Because your legs is just stuck to your body. And,
yeah, I mean, some people do perfectly well with having them both done at the same time.
And I wonder when people having leg problem, I tell them, maybe something we eating. But everybody, you see, I said, not knee, not leg. It is. I'm going to tell you what it is. It is lifestyle for most of us, because I've had this discussion with an orthopedic surgeon in, I was in, I think it was Miami area. And so I went out with someone and I said to him, he's like, they stay busy. And I said, really? And he said, yep. And he said, in fact, he said, we used to be so much busier with referrals from the Cayman Islands until Health City came along, and then Health City took our work because they do such an amazing job. And he's like, I don't see too many patients from Cayman anymore. But this was a young lady who had it done at HSA, and basically her knee surgery wasn't successful. And that can happen for a number of different reasons. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything with the surgeons. Sometimes it's the equipment. So they even check the parts that they put in, if there've been any recalls or anything else going on in relation to that. So because she was looking at having to do it again, they actually sent her overseas for a second opinion, an external analysis. So the orthopedic surgeon there was saying, and I said, what is it with everybody getting knee surgery these days? And he said, well, we're using our bodies a lot differently than in times gone by. And the biggest contributor is obesity. People weigh more. And so they're putting a lot of weight on all of their joints. And so that excess weight, like something like, 5-10 pounds extra, puts another 100 pounds of pressure on the knees and on the feet. And so we got to really recognize that our lifestyle, our sedentary lifestyle, or overeating lifestyle, all those things. Somebody just messaged me to say they're listening to me in Tampa and they're walking on the treadmill as they're listening to me. We gotta start doing better, honey child. Yeah. That I say because I covered by my husband, and they don't want to refer you nowhere else.
Don't get me started on Dr. Gent this morning with the whole referral thing. But you know what? I'm not even that upset about Dr. Gent, as I am the fact that what it has come down to is the budget for the overall government is in such a mess, and includes HSA, and
They don't want
includes
to create it. They also want,
yeah, they can't afford to refer you to anyone, which is unfortunate because God knows orthopedic the what do you call it, the therapists at HSA are too busy. You go in there and they're like, oh yeah, we'll see you in 2 months time. When you have a chronic injury, you can't wait that long. But anyway, Miss Shelma, leave me there. There's a couple things I need to address.
Mm-hmm. That's the license, doctor. The Bogle is good, and a lot of people say, but I don't know how.
Yeah, well, you have to. If you have to do it, you know,
run no more because God
follow
knows
your follow your
that.
doctor's advice. All right, honey, child. Thank you so much for the phone call.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right, dear. Dr. Carlos, I see you. Just give me a few minutes here because I do need to make some breaking announcements this morning that you're going to hear only here on Cayman Mall Road as exclusives. Number one is okay, take it with a Caribbean grain of salt. Okay. So what I mean by that, it has not come from any official sources, but I have heard that ahead of my expose on the, they were called Tourism Attraction Board, but now they're called the Cayman Islands National Attractions Authority, formerly the TAB, Tourism Attraction Board. I understand that there has been a resignation. The chairman of the board has resigned. Now her name is, hold on, let me get her name. Carla. Is she Carla? There's a Carla and there's two names that I have to be very careful that I don't get them confused when I have this discussion, because they're up to very different things. I'll say that much. But my sources have indicated that she has resigned as chairman of the board. Now, you guys know that since last week, Tuesday, I indicated that there will be a expose of sorts that is coming in relation to them. And, you know, it is what it is. Someone connected recently to the ministry that oversees this, which would be the tourism ministry, was asking me if I could tell them what this was all about and what was coming. And I said, no, I'm not going to tell you, because what would be the point of me telling you in advance of an expose? Because then you're going to run to them and say, oh, Sandy said this and that, and they're going to try to fix it. You need to fix it. Jesus is going to have to help you to fix this one because it's really bad. So yes, you're going to have to fix it. But the people of the Cayman Islands deserve to know how bad the situation is at this particular public authority, because you don't get to spend government money and be on a public authority and not be held accountable. So I find, you know, too many times, quite frankly, we have allowed people to get away with a lot, right? We keep, you know, behind closed doors, sweep it under the carpet. We're going to fix it. And so those days are long gone. I was talking to someone last night. They're like, oh, you know, this place has been a hot mess, an S show for a really long time. And we didn't have a Cayman Mall Road to go to. So what were we going to do? And I said, Lord Jesus, it's a mess. So we're going to address it. And so I understand that Ms. Carla Reed, who is chairman of the board, has now resigned. Well, I mean, like I said, the government hasn't said anything yet about this resignation. And she's been there for about 14 years, which I find shocking, because I don't know of any other board chairman who's been there for 14 years. And there's something to be said for government boards. You don't allow someone to go in a government board position and have that be a life appointment. 14 years is a long time to be on a government board. And sometimes you have to, not sometimes, all the time, quite frankly, you have to roll people out in order to have, you know, significant changes. Nothing changes, nothing really improves normally if you have the same CEOs and board chairmen in position. And there has been a lot that has happened under her watch. And so on the one hand, there is an argument that, you know, how much did she know, so forth and so on. But I can tell you, my indications are that she knew enough to have dealt with this situation a long time ago as a board chairman. 14 years is a very, very long time. Okay, so we got to talk about it. And there are going to be some people who are like, oh, she's such a nice person. This has nothing to do with her being a nice person. I don't know, Miss Carla, and I'm sure she's absolutely a nice person, but that does not impact the price of rice in China for me at all. All right, so I don't go after people because they're bad people. Sometimes I do, but sometimes good people, especially when you're in a government position, and like I said, you know, it's important for people to understand why there's accountability that comes with boards, right? There's responsibility and there's accountability. So I don't really, I don't care that she's a nice person. Not when it comes to this topic. Yes, you know, it matters whether she's going to get into the pearly gates or whatever. If she's a nice person, maybe. I mean, I'm not God, so I don't have his checklist of exactly what he's looking for. But in other ways, it matters that you're a nice person in life. However, when it comes to board accountability and board standards, it really does not matter to me. And you guys remember, I've had to talk about people like Mr. Pearson, who is someone that I genuinely like. I know Linford Pearson, you know, he has done well in life, an educator, politician for many, many years. I've sat at his kitchen table, his dining room table, and had lunch with him when we were both at law school together. We've broken bread. And I think that Mr. Linford is a really nice person sometimes. But when he was board chairman over there at OFREG, there was a lot of foolishness that was going on, and it was just too much. And so when I had to report on it, that didn't make me feel good to have to report that someone I, respected, such as Mr. Pearson, was, doing some of the things that he was doing on the board. But if we didn't report it, nobody else had the information. It was kind of ironic that both Compass and CNS were like, okay, according to this other news source, back in those days, they wouldn't even give us proper credit by naming us. We don't know, but we're going to still run with the story because according to them, we knew what we were talking about. We knew exactly what we were talking about. And by exposing these situations, there is some accountability that will, come about, in my opinion. So there's that. So I just wanted to make that announcement that I understand that she is no longer board chairman, that she actually resigned. What a hot mess. It is what it is, maybe she should have resigned a long time ago. The other breaking news that I have for you guys this morning, and this is where my job is never an easy job because, these are Caymanians, these are our people. And so it doesn't ever give me any pleasure to talk about where we are and what's actually happening when our people are getting themselves in predicaments and in trouble. I wish every single show could be a show about all the amazing and wonderful things that we're accomplishing and how all of us are getting it right. Like Lavana, big shout out to Lavana Johnson. She's opened a new laundromat there in Windsor Park. 7 washers, 7 dryers, extended hours. I love when people are out here hustling and they're doing positive things. But it doesn't save you, because you've done all these amazing and positive things in life when you've come up short, if I could say that. And so it actually pains me considerably to have to talk about this next story, but it's an ongoing investigation. So we are continuing to look into this matter. But I can tell you this morning that one of our own has been arrested. And the allegation is in relation to, this is where the story gets a little bit fuzzy, but we're going to get to the bottom of it. The allegation is in relation to money laundering and or theft of some sort. So this one's a shocker. I'm going to get a little picture here So let me see here if I can show you guys this picture. Yeah. This one's I mean, I feel so bad about this because we have recognized this person so for so many positive things, and now I'm having to talk about this. This really, quite frankly, breaks my heart. But you guys might recognize this individual as Robert Thompson Jr. And there's quite an interesting story. He's the bodybuilder young man, and there's quite an interesting story that is floating around about Robert Thompson Jr. that he has been arrested at the Lift Studio Gym for fraud and money laundering. We have reached out to the authorities, the RCIPS, but they have been mum on this one so far. Normally, when they're mum on it, I can tell you that, charges soon come kind of vibe. So, yeah, this is horrible. I don't have any of the details. Yeah, but it's sad. I don't know. He was on such a trajectory of positivity in terms of his bodybuilding life. It does not give me any pleasure to say this morning that he seems to be embroiled in something or another, and it seems to be around money laundering and potentially theft and stuff like this. Now, somebody made mention of, these crypto businesses or whatever. I keep telling you guys, if you don't know something about these things, everybody wants to make fast money, but fast money is not sustainable and it's not good money. So, I'm afraid of crypto, whatever, because I don't understand it enough to really make any viable and sensible decisions around it. And some of you think it's that easy. Like, oh yeah, my friend is now a billionaire because they bought into crypto. And I see the comments that you guys make on social media. You make it sound so easy for people to become ultra wealthy overnight. And I'm shocked by it. I'm just like, that's not normally how it works. As Aunt Lottie would say, she's going to have her own show on CMR TV, by the way. Aunt Lottie would say, easy come, easy go. And that's normally a good lesson to proceed with in life. So this is sad. It breaks my heart. And so we will get more details on this situation. And I'll see what I can find out. Jay Beasy says the name of that song, it's actually called Find a Way Out. I'll get you the artist and stuff, and it's an amazing song. So good morning to all of you. It is Hump Day Wednesday. So let me just say this morning that, again, there will be no show tomorrow morning. I'm going to go ahead into surgery, try to sort out my knee. I'm not sure how I'll be feeling for Friday. I'm not a person that likes to call in sick or take off work, but sometimes you've got to let the body do what it needs to do. So Ethel says, talking about knees, my left knee has been giving me a lot of problems. I need to check it out. Just happened out of the blue, even gets swollen at times. Oh my goodness, Miss Ethel, please do not play around with that. You really do need to have that checked out. And, as we get older, we're losing cartilage. We have degeneration. Yes. And all sorts of, in our necks and our knees and all sorts of things. And sometimes you can starve it off because we are also living longer. So that's important. But sometimes you can starve off all of these issues with adequate therapy. But you've got to know what the problem is first. Not all knee problems are the same. They're not created equal. So this is where you have to go see a specialist. They will do a clinical assessment of you. And then sometimes they will recognize the importance, obviously, of MRIs, ultrasounds, and all sorts of other things. Cece says, innocent until proven guilty. Exit chat until next topic. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty, Cindy. We did not say anything about his guilt or innocence. We're just telling you that the man has been arrested. And so we will watch this situation, and we will certainly, like any other case, bring you the news as and when it happens. That does not mean, thank you, instructor She's like, it's stave off, not starve off. You guys know Soka, aka Marilyn, there in Miami. She's our grammar police, and we appreciate her keeping us on it. YouTuber says, come on, Sandra, you can stream through the surgery. Dr. Carlos, good morning to you. They said I can live stream through the surgery. That would be a miracle because I'm going to be under. So I don't see that happening. But, you know, I think for those of us, I don't know if you can relate to this, Dr. Carlos. Do you have a type A personality? Or you seem kind of chill, so I'm not sure.
I'm recovering from my type A personality, I would say.
I love it.
But it still shows itself in many
Yes.
ways.
Yeah. I work through the pain. I work through illness. And as I get older, I'm recognizing that that's not always the smart thing to do. That's why now when I take my vacations, you know, I saw you when I was in Tampa. Normally I'd be like, okay, I still need an hour in the morning to live stream during vacation. And that was stealing time from my family, stealing time from myself. I could sleep in that hour. And so now I'm kind of approaching life where I have a bit of a no nonsense approach to vacation. Like take vacation seriously as I do work, you know, be committed to it because your body needs the rest.
And your mind.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, Soka, YouTuber, I know you're kidding, but absolutely not. But I do want to, I'm going to have a segment. I'm going to do an in-person interview segment with Dr. Naranjan about this whole meniscus thing, because it is an interesting topic. And like I said, it's quite a common injury as well. So C7 says, my aunt had both knees done, and the only regret she had was not getting them done sooner. And my aunt said the same thing. Well, she did one first, and I don't know if she's done the second one, but after the first one, honey child, she was like, I wish that I could have done this sooner, because she was living with pain unnecessarily for a really, really long time. So talk to your physicians, folks, and have them sort you out. Thank you so much, Miss Deanne. Johan, he is such a joker. Can we talk about people like Johan for a second? He loves my brownies, by the way. But Johan he's an enigma. Someone said to me yesterday, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday, that, and you know, I'm sure Johan doesn't mind us talking about him because he's on the show every morning, you know, putting himself in the spotlight and making himself a bit of a spectacle. But Dr. Carlos is like, oh Lord, what are we walking into this morning? But someone said, I'm going to read this comment, and this is what they said about Johan. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I'm hoping that some tea that you're bringing me this blessed morning. Come on in, Miss Stacy. Come on in, my darling. You have any tea for me? Darling. You're not my darling. It's mint tea. It's going to make my tummy feel better. Thank you so much. She listens to the show and she's like, ugh, sounds like Miss Sandy needs some mint tea. I probably need a little bit of scrambled eggs and some proper turkey bacon. She went and bought some new bacon that I've not been enjoying. I digress. All right, listen. Johan is an enigma. This is what this person said yesterday. I have a love-hate relationship with Johan. Tonight, because they're somewhere else in the world, it was morning for us, but night for them. I love Johan for highlighting this case that has been ignored because of disgusting Larry, because of the color of his skin, and I'll fill you in, Dr. Carlos, and his bank account. No justice for Caymanians when they're up against these driftwoods supported by their sellout Caymanians. So this was a situation where a young man was assaulted. He's 17 years old. It was a road rage incident, believe it or not. Road rage in the Cayman Islands. You're probably thinking to yourself, you guys all need therapy. Like, this is paradise, supposedly. But he attacked this young man because the young man made him brake a little bit too suddenly in his Tesla Cybertruck. So he got out and was trying to drag this young man out of his car and was assaulting him or whatever. And then the young man had to defend himself and gave him a kaboom right in the face. And then when the authorities got there, they automatically took Larry's side, because there is a saying in our country, when you're white, you're right. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, you know, this is some of the colorism and prejudices that exist in the world. Only a fool will say that there's no prejudice in the world, because of course there is. But let's talk about Johan for a quick second. Sometimes Johan is very, very sensible in the things that he says. And then other times, and I think he does it under the auspice of like joking. But I always say there's a saying that a drunken man reveals, what is that saying? A drunken man reveals what the sober man thinks, or something like that. It's the quote is actually better than that. Somebody help me out with this proper quote. But it's basically that sometimes we say things when we're under intoxication that we really feel and we really mean. And there are people who do it under jokes as well. So they'll be like, oh, I'm joking. So in the comment section, he makes these jokes, but we know he's serious, actually. I think most people figure that out. And sometimes he contradicts himself. And I have to wonder, I mean, I actually want Johan to talk to you. I was saying to him on Saturday, you got to talk to Dr. Carlos, because I think, you would really enjoy having a conversation with him. What is it about jokesters? We call them like the class clown. They're jokesters, that they sometimes have to say what they really feel, cushioned in a joke. Why can't they just say how they really feel?
Yeah. I think the word that's coming up for me the most at this moment, Sandy, is shame. And what I mean, and just right, like I sometimes get accused of being too much of a therapist, but like, the place I'm always going to go, right? Childhood, right?
Yeah.
And so, if in a lot of ways, like that's where we learn our capacity to communicate is very early on in our environments. And so, if we had environments that were very repressive in their nature of allowing us to communicate freely, we found alternative ways to do that, right? So maybe it was sarcasm, maybe it was joking, maybe it was passive aggressiveness, right? But these are all strategies and techniques that are probably not grounded in the most healthy way of communicating, because I think when we feel justified and proper in communicating the thing that's coming up for us, even if others might disagree or many others might disagree, and we have the confidence to stand on that, then I don't think we need to rely on the joking or these other tools that we sometimes use to sort of make comments or make jabs, or like we can communicate from a place of honesty without feeling any shame around it. And I think that's not easy for everybody, right? And again, I just think about past generations, and like, I grew up in a house where it didn't matter how right you were, you didn't communicate, because just from the very nature of being a child, you were wrong. That's all you hear in your childhood. What is right? What's the message that you interpret from that about your opinions and about how you're feeling? What happens later on is that then most of us have a deep discomfort with sharing things that are honest and real and raw, because we're too preoccupied with what others might think. Is it going to be digestible? Is it not? And I think one of the things that we need to remember is there's always two people in a communication. I get to share my message in the way that it feels honest and real for me. And you get to be in charge of your response and your reactions to my message. And so, when it comes to communication, there's so many things at play that we often don't see, that we need to be mindful of.
Yeah. And I agree with you, because I know that, again, cultures align so much. And I think that's why people love you, Dr. Carlos, because you get it from a cultural perspective, right? So I know for a fact that it's the same thing in the Caribbean. We tell children, don't speak until spoken to. And that is one of the things that really gets under my skin, is because I'm like, no, children have a voice, Now we teach them limitations. Like, okay, if you're walking up to an adult, you just don't start blurbing out. You have to say, if they're talking to somebody else, you have to say, excuse me. Sometimes a conversation, like when and where it's happening, matters. So, we try to make them understand certain things. But I think this concept of shutting children down when it comes to expressing themselves is wrong. And we've all had to hopefully learn that. And I think that some parents are still struggling with, don't ignore your children, give them a safe space to be able to tell you how they feel. Yeah. And it's so crazy because, I can only speak, I only have one daughter, so I can only use her as an example sometimes of what I've experienced with children. So when she was much younger and she didn't have a full vocabulary, now she can have a full conversation with you, and but sometimes she was like struggling to express her feelings. But she would say, and I think her body language spoke volumes. Like, she would show frustration. She was upset about something. And so I would try to get her like, what's wrong? Tell me what you're feeling. And there were times that she would literally just say, I need a hug. And I'm like, I can do that. I can give you a hug. And I think we have to give children grace because, of course, I feel like all of us are big children now that we're adults. And if we have not had the opportunity to properly address these childhood traumas and problems that we've encountered, we continue to probably not function optimally. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this happened to me just yesterday, right? I got home from work. My son doesn't see me all day. So when daddy gets home, he's so excited, right? He just wants my attention. He wants me to be around him. He wants us to play. And so we were sitting having dinner, and my wife and I were engaged in a conversation. And he had a new toy, and he was sort of like, Daddy, let me show you this thing. But I was so dialed into the conversation with my wife because I was trying to communicate something that he just started to raise his voice and daddy, daddy, daddy. And like, I was still tuning him out to where then he started tapping me on the shoulder until the point where I got frustrated and annoyed. So in that moment, I have to acknowledge my frustration in the moment, right? He didn't do that to me. He's being a 3-year-old.
Right.
He's like, based on what I know of how to get people's attention, based on what I've been taught in my 3 years, this is how I do it. So I had to check my frustration because if that was my dad, I mean, he would have smacked me right off the chair, right? That would have gotten my attention to be quiet or settle down or whatever. But in that moment, I just kind of turned to him and I was like, Jonah, I see you, I hear you. And daddy in this moment is trying to have a conversation with mommy. Like, Daddy, I just wanted to show you this. And I was like, oh, okay, buddy, I see it. And he went back to playing. And then my wife, who's just so brilliant because she's a therapist also, later says to me, when he starts to do that, what we should probably do is earlier on, before he gets elevated, turn to him and just explain what's going on and that we'll come back to it. Like, yeah, I hear you.
Acknowledge him.
And acknowledge it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of education that we need to be able to teach our kids, right? Because again, we need to remember, like you said, Sandy, we're sort of developing or growing the adults, right? The small adults. And so when we can take the time to be patient and provide that early on, we also give them a really good model to learn, like your daughter did in that moment, to share what they were feeling without having to feel that they're upsetting somebody, going to get shamed, going to get judged, going to feel, a disconnection in the bond with the parent just because we don't want to hear what they're saying right in that moment or the way that they're saying it or whatever it might be.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. It's challenging though, because again, we were raised very, very differently. And so I chuckled when you said, if that was your dad, he would have smacked you right off of the chair, because that's what, our parents were like. Yeah, they ruled with an iron fist, I think, when it came to responding to you in that way. And so a lot of us hold on to remnants of that. I've been an advocate in more recent times, and this is where I'm so happy, Dr. Carlos, that I did not have a child in my 20s and even my 30s, because when you said that you said this, I think, on the very first show, that no two children have the same parents, even when technically they had the same parents, right? And I know I sent you a clip yesterday where somebody else was expressing, another therapist was expressing the exact same thing. And so I would have been a different parent in my 20s, probably the worst parent. In my 30s, a little bit better, but still not ready. Right. So, mom, I had my daughter in my early 40s, but I was a totally different person. And by extension, most importantly, a different mom. So in my 20s, I believed in corporal punishment because that's how I was raised. And we all have this. I want you to address this one for me because this is something we tell ourselves. So just as an FYI, to give you a little bit of background information on this program, I have been an advocate of, this concept of spare the rod and spoil the child. We have misinterpreted that element of the Bible to mean something that I don't think it actually intended to mean at all. Mm-hmm. And so I'm now an advocate of more gentle parenting. I think you can be firm but gentle. Sure. And not utilizing corporal punishment. I don't think it is necessary to raise a good, decent child who becomes, hopefully, a good, decent adult. I don't think it's necessary to put your hands on that child ever, except in a life-saving situation. So if the child's about to run into the street, you grab them and pull them back, right? So a situation like that. But I don't believe in hitting children. I don't believe in grabbing them and pinching them and jucking them up, as we say in the Caribbean, all this kind of stuff. So my mindset has changed because in my 20s, I was an advocate of, oh, this is what happened to me. Mm-hmm. And then we say this, and this is what I want you to address. Everybody will says, well, I got my ass torn up and I'm okay. And I now say, well, everybody thinks they're okay. But who are you to say that you're okay? So can you address that very minute point where everybody thinks they're okay? And because, they were beaten and they're fine. Miss Marjorie, thank you. This is the quote: a drunken mind reveals what a sober mind conceals. Mm-hmm. That's something we say all the time here. And it's so true. But why do people think that they're okay, even when they're not? And we think, okay, my parents raised me this particular way. And my case, it was really my aunt who raised me. Mm-hmm. And, she believed in not sparing the rod. You know what I'm saying? You got it. And you got it good. And so a lot of people then sit back and say, even though that happened to me or this happened to me, I'm still fine. I'm okay. So I will continue that type of parenting, that type of disciplining of my child because it didn't kill me. Which is crazy to say that something didn't kill you means that you're okay. Just because something didn't kill you does not mean that you're okay.
Right. Yeah, I saw earlier this week another quote, Sandy, and it said, the unhealed parent is the first bully of the child.
I'm going to give that one a kaboom. The unhealed parent is the first bully of the child. That's pretty deep because most parents don't think they're bullying their kids. But let's dive into that.
Your own anger, your own impatience, your own intolerance around others' behaviors is a reaction or a reflection of something that's unhealed in you. And, most often when parents are that aggressive with children is because the parent is frustrated. The child is probably frustrated for some other reason that the child is naturally going to be frustrated around. And the parent can't tolerate it. Right? Can't tolerate, doesn't have the emotional regulation to calm themselves down in that moment. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to act in a way that from, anywhere on the spectrum from violent to agitated, that is going to, right? Like the sentiment is, let me show you how I am stronger than you. Well, of course you are. You're an adult. Mm-hmm. And if you think that that's the approach that is necessary for educating and training, and you're going to justify it by saying, well, that's what I got, It just feels like it's missing a lot of understanding there. It's missing a lot of compassion, right? Because that's just kind of say like, well, I'm going to do this wrong thing because this wrong thing has been done to me. What kind of a world do we create and live in if that's the case? Right. And for the people out there, know that, very much like you, Sandy, in my 20s and 30s, I might not have been the parent that I am now, but that I have spent years and years in therapy healing myself from my childhood so that not only my child, but the people around me don't have to deal with the implications of the things that arose in me as a result of my childhood. My father's anger, my father's intolerance, my mother's opinionated nature. And this isn't me pointing fingers at them. It's that they were also dealing with trauma that was unresolved, and they didn't have an outlet for it. Therapy wasn't, a viable solution. But it is for us now. And so I think we need to stop making excuses and saying that we're okay. The statement "I'm okay" usually comes from two places. The first one being that we need to convince ourselves that we're okay, because that's what feels good for the ego, right? That's what feels good to, no one wants to view themselves in a way of like, oh, I still have work to do, or I have some blind spots, or there's some things missing in me that can be better, right? So I think naturally we want to think that we're okay. The other place from which that comes is that we're engaging in a comparison. I'm okay compared to what? Because I'm not in jail? Because I'm not doing drugs every day? Because, that to me isn't okay. I want to be regulated in my emotions. I want to be calm. I want to be effective. I want to engage people in communication. I don't want to walk around being reactive all of the time. I don't want to get upset or get angry just because, let's say you and I are engaged in a conversation, Sandy, and you share something that, I might not agree with or might have a different opinion about. Like how does it benefit me to get all, intolerant, angry, point finger, right? Like that's just, there's a sensitivity in so many of us that hasn't been loved and looked at and appreciated. That's why we show up in the world angry, road rage, right? Like all of this anger is coming from something that's unhealed in us. Because I can tell you, as someone that has spent 20 years healing myself and working on myself, whether that's through therapy or meditation or working on my health, working on my mindset, working on my emotions, is that I'm now not reactive to other people in the world. And their stuff. I can sit back and respond. I can choose how I want to respond. I'm more in control. I don't get upset. I don't have a chip on my shoulder. I don't. There's less and less ego in me that needs to prove something to you. My confidence is rooted in a deep place of knowing myself, loving myself, respecting myself. If you don't respect me, that's not my problem. That sounds like a you problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Wow. The phone lines are open.
Long sort of question, but
yeah, no, that's wow. 936-2626 is the telephone number. I just want to remind you guys that the phone number is open. Cameron says, don't be out yet talking to people from a place of your feelings. Mind your emotions when talking to certain people. Just saying. So this sounds like someone who's very guarded. And what makes us guarded in this way, where we feel like we can't share emotions with people?
Yeah. Listen, I think anytime we're feeling defensive, something is getting triggered in us. I don't know what that is for this person or any other. What I do know is that the way I approach the world now, not always, because I come from, again, that upbringing of the sort of Caribbean and Hispanic culture. And then I was in the military, right? So like I developed a very reactive personality, and I would, often use my words to shut other people down or to make myself feel better. But like anytime you're engaged in a process where you got to make someone else feel worse to make you feel better, that says something. I'm not going to tell you what it says. That's your work to do. I've done my work, right? But anytime we're feeling defensive, I think it's an opportunity to get curious about like, what's the thing in me that's feeling so defensive, right? Like what's getting triggered in me and why? Often what I find, not always, Sandy, there's an unhealed wound there. It's because we weren't seen, we weren't listened to, we weren't validated. We didn't have our challenges and difficulties acknowledged by someone, where it felt accepting and loved. And so we start to build all of these walls and these different strategies for pushing people away. Being angry is one of them. Being defensive is one of them. Being passive aggressive is one of them. Joking about everything is one of them. And no judgment. I don't judge anybody, right? Like if you come to see me, like this is all really good data for us to understand what is the deeper thing that might be going on.
Right.
That's where I like to meet people, is in like, well, let's talk about this. What is feeling unseen for you?
Right. Wow. Yes, very deep here.
Yeah.
We're going deep, Cameron. It's okay to feel on this show. No judgment. This is so funny what he says. He says his wife is a therapist too. Wonder who wins those arguments, those disagreements. Although we as men already know the answer to that.
Yeah. I will say this though, Sandy, my wife has been a great teacher for me, because when I met her, she has taught me so much how to communicate from a place of calmness and from a place of listening to each other and not passing judgment, of really sitting with our emotions and acknowledging what's coming up for us. Yeah, she's, I've learned so much from her. And yeah, she probably wins more of the arguments, more of the times, if we're gonna put a number on it.
Yeah, not for nothing, but I've read some good research-based articles that women tend to be right, fellas. I mean,
Yeah.
So,
I do work with couples often, Sandy, and one of the things that's always interesting to watch is, when the couple decides that they need support from the outside, usually things have already evolved to a point where they're very disruptive for the relationship. And usually where that shows up most is in the ways that we communicate, right? But what I tell the couples I work with is that your arguments about the dishes in the sink is never about the dishes in the sink, right? And so when I work with couples, after a handful of sessions that I've kind of seen the pattern a little bit, I've sat with each of them to understand a little bit about their own attachments, their own upbringing, their family of origin. It paints a really, really clear picture that like even any of us can see. Like, oh, I see why this person communicates that way. And so, I'll just kind of give an illustration of what happens generally. Oftentimes, and I know I'm using sort of labels and generalizations here, but there is a truth to it. Because typically females have a little bit more leeway in terms of emotional expression throughout their lives, where men are, like you're weak if you show emotions, right? What happens for a lot of us men is that we then, like, we don't know how to identify most of our emotions other than like anger and happiness or being neutral. A lot of times we don't know that we're feeling a certain thing until like much later on. Our ability to communicate what we're feeling is deeply disrupted, right? We feel shameful around sharing our feelings. And so when we come to the table to have these conversations about what's going on for us individually, because again, couples might be arguing about right and wrong, but it's never really about that. There's always some underlying thing that's manifesting. So when we come to the table to have these discussions, men are often at a disadvantage. We're at a handicap because we don't know what we're feeling. And the only ways that we know how to communicate is through right or wrong. Well, I said this on Tuesday, at 6 p.m. And she's like, well, no, it was actually Monday and it was 5:30. And then we get into right. Like,
oh my God. Pause for one quick second. I hope Marlon's listening this morning because this is something that gets under his skin with me and he thinks that it's just me. Right. I'm glad to know it's not. He says that when we're having a discussion, I focus on the minute details, or I ask all of these probative questions, which he finds like avoidant. He thinks I'm trying to avoid the discussion. For me, I'm like, I'm not avoiding the discussion, but I need more information. Yeah. I need to understand. Right. So I'm going to probe and I'm also going to correct him. And, so one of my pet peeves is when people make very, very general statements. Well, you do this all the time. And I'll say, no, I don't. Just last week, I have a perfect example of where I don't do that all the time. And he's like, that's not the point. I'm like, but then you can't say I do it all the time. What you can say is maybe, you do it too much for my liking, but don't say all the time, because I've got lots of examples where I don't do something all the time. Yeah. But that kind of like, I think is attention to detail and trying to have a real deeper conversation. He sees it as like nitpicking and that doesn't matter. The details doesn't matter.
Sure. Sandy, can we just do like a little one-on-one coaching here in the moment?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Let's see what we find. Why does it feel important for you that the details of a conversation are so spot on?
I think it's a number of things. I think part of it is my professional experience and training. Someone who has a law degree, a professional writing, technical writing degree, like we are taught to pay attention to the details because the details matter in the outcome of any legal case. So there's no two cases that are exactly the same. On a personal level, I've done some professional training and development myself, and I think it's counterproductive when someone tries to say that I don't like absolutes. So I don't like words like every time, always, never, because I feel like they don't apply in 99.99999% of the cases. Right. So it is also inaccurate to say that someone always does something or someone never does something. So I think I'm just trying to be more accurate.
Perfect. Yeah. So when we have a disagreement and Sandy is stepping into the conversation, ready to find some resolution, one of the things that doesn't feel good for you because of the misunderstanding that it creates is statements that are inaccurate or these very generalistic statements.
Right.
Right. And I'm hearing that a part of that is because then you feel misunderstood.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And Sandy, what is the feeling that arises for you when you're feeling misunderstood?
I think I feel a sense of frustration.
Frustration. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're frustrated because?
Because I think that whatever it is that we're talking about, I feel like maybe I'm making more of an effort than the person actually recognizes. Right. And so when you pigeonhole me and say, well, you're always doing this and you never, I'm like, no, I don't. There are times that I'm very, very conscious, like I'm living in the moment and I'm not always on my phone and I'm trying to be present and and so those moments don't get recognized.
Right.
When you say to me, well, you always do this or you never do this.
So part of what I'm hearing there is that one of the things that really doesn't feel okay is when the parts of me that are making an effort aren't heard and seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And now we can take this a little bit deeper. We can go into like, what was that like for you as a child? Where did this develop from? Right. And we can, most of us understand when we don't feel seen and heard
Mm-hmm.
We have strategies that we use to try and do that, not ones that always work, right? And so that what I just did there is a perfect example of what I do with people to help get us from what is here on the surface to what is actually going on. Oh, right. Sandy doesn't like to hear things like, oh, because it dismisses the effort that she is putting into this relationship or this dynamic or this interaction. And so it feels like a rejection of your effort. And so, of course, you're going to respond to that from a place of frustration. Makes absolute sense.
Yes.
So a lot of us get caught in the details of the thing as just a way of coping, right? A way of just like, well, if I win this argument, if I get this person to see things my way, then I can feel seen and heard. But you actually feel seen and heard by talking to the emotion behind it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now you got me thinking, how much did I feel seen and heard as a child? And of course, I think about the dynamics of like being the youngest, coming along, in an environment where I think it makes a difference when your parents didn't even plan to have you. You know what I mean? Like this is gonna sound so,
of course,
maybe a little bit too deep for some of you all, but we're gonna put it out here. Back in those days, I'm not sure how much family planning actually happened. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Carlos, I was born into a very chaotic relationship. Yeah. My parents were not married to each other.
Yeah.
One was married to somebody else. So, I grew up with my own grandmother telling me and my siblings that we were bastard children because the first set were born within a marriage. And so although he didn't do much for them necessarily either, but you have a lot of these absent fathers in particular. But she always told us very, very clearly that she wasn't fond of us. We were not her favorites. I remember distinctly a situation that when I reflect on certain things, always comes to my mind. When my aunt, I just moved back to Cayman. I was an adult at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been away for 15 years living in Tampa. And I just moved back trying to like find my bearings. And a lot of people I didn't know a lot of family and all this sort of stuff. And so my aunt, old school, we call her Adonia. Adonia is her name. A lot of people know her as Top. So she said, okay, I'm going to take you to go visit your grandmother because, you haven't seen her in a while. You don't have a transportation. You don't have a car. And I was like, okay. And so she takes me, I was staying with her until I kind of got a job and got sorted with my apartment. So she's like, oh, I'll take you. And it was it is a pivotal conversation in my life that I will probably never forget. Mm-hmm. And not because it was positive. I sat there and I listened to things that I found disturbing on so many different levels, including the fact that I don't think in that conversation, she called us bastard children, but I know in the past we've heard that rhetoric. We've been called that before. Yeah. But, she said, and I might get a little bit emotional now reflecting on it this time. She actually, just having a general conversation like, okay, I'm back, I've completed university. She kind of said something like, well, who do you think you are kind of vibe? So what that you have completed university? You're not the only person in this family who's done that. Then she started comparing me to my older siblings who had, gone off to university. And well, your sister so-and-so did this. And that's how she knows how to drive in the States because she was there. And I was like, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this is not a pissing competition. I'm not here to hear about this. And because I had been removed from this environment for 15 years. I didn't have to deal with this day in and day out. Yeah. I found it very strange. I found it to be a strange and perplexing conversation, but it also put me smack dab in the middle of why we have so many issues as a family, as a community. We can't let go of family trauma and family hate. And There are people in the family who were like, if your mom didn't have the last 3 with your father, maybe the first, 6 or however many there are, 5 or whatever, would have been better off in life because there were less mouths to feed. And so you felt like you were, as the youngest, somehow a burden on people. And then when you hear a senior member of your family say these things to you about, oh, your sisters are better than you because, or who do you think you are? And I was just like, I was confused because it's not something that I had been exposed to in more recent times. I was very, very confused with the conversation. And I found a lot of what was said, even about other nationalities, talking about Jamaicans. And I remember distinctly that this was 1996. And there must have been a World Cup on or eliminations on, because on the TV was a football match and Jamaicans were playing. And then comments were made about that. And so even the minute things that we like, I can't tell you half the stuff that happened last week, but this conversation was so impactful.
Yeah.
It had such an influence on me that here we are, 1996 to 2025 is a long time. And it still is embedded in my brain. And it brings me to a point emotionally, that I feel sad, I feel upset.
Totally.
But in that moment, I made the decision. And this is, maybe some family members are going to be upset today. I don't really care. But in that moment, I made a decision for myself because I just come back and I'm trying to figure out, how do I navigate these people that are family that I don't even really know, but I'm going to have to get to know them. Yeah. I decided that I would dictate what boundaries was going to be set with home and how I was going to be comfortable setting those boundaries. So just because you are a mother, a father, a grandmother, an aunt, whatever, doesn't mean that you get to speak to me any way that you feel like. It doesn't mean that you get to treat me any way that you feel like, and I'm going to tolerate it. Yeah. And so, for me, what has, and maybe it's avoidance, but what has worked really, really well is just keeping a lot of those people at arm's length. I see you, I say hello, goodbye. It's really brief. Yeah. And I don't engage with these people at a much deeper level because it's just too toxic for me. I can't.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story, Sandy. I mean, so powerful, right? That like here as an adult, that statement felt very, very hurtful. Imagine what these statements feel like to a child. In a child's eyes, the love and acceptance of a parent is the only thing. It's the only thing that matters. That is the only thing a child ever wants is acceptance and love from a parent. That is essential to their survival, right? Mm-hmm. And we take that and we think that children are these little adults and we need to build them up to be tough because the world is going to, what we're creating is fear and disconnection at an age when that's when what they're needing the most is connection and safety. And so like, what I can say there is, that comment made to you was coming from probably somebody that was experiencing their own hurt and pain.
Yeah. And
so, there's so many ways that we learn to, because we have to, or for whatever, any other reason, to set boundaries to limit ourselves around certain people because of that nature of their pain. But so powerful a story that you shared there that helps illustrate for many of us what happens when we don't feel seen by the world. The ways that we protest, the ways that we're reactive, the ways that we get angry, the ways that, and I hear these stories every week, Sandy. And again, this, a lot of people are like, well, those were my parents and I love them. And that is all real and true. I'm not, I'm not judging any of that. We all had our stuff to deal with. But we can use that as insight and as we can use this to better understand ourselves, because I mean, just this week I heard, somebody in their 60s about like, why was my father never around? What did I do wrong? Was I not loving enough? Was I not good enough?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing that children internalize, because that's just kind of part of the psychological development of a child. 99% of children who were a product of separation or divorce, not because the parents intended it. As a matter of fact, in a lot of instances, the parents intended to make sure that the child knew that the divorce had nothing to do with them, but this child still internalized a message. Well, like, yeah, but you're saying it wasn't about me, and yet, like, you wouldn't come and see me on the weekends, or I would show up in the room and you would be frustrated, and I could tell that I was letting you down, and so, like, those things are real. And every one of those little experiences
Mm-hmm.
leaves an imprint in our hearts, in our psyche, in our mind, in our emotions.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. Debbie says, Dr. Sandy and Dr. Carlos, thank you for the free therapy. Irvlyn says, sending you virtual hugs, Sandy, and I'm going to receive and accept that, because yes, even as adults, sometimes we just need a hug. I don't, you see, the problem for me is I don't know how to navigate what I see as very complex, multi-generational issues. And I think that it isn't even my responsibility to know how to navigate that. I would spend a lifetime and then some trying to figure out how, we're so broken. And so is it okay for a person to say, when they come to you in therapy and they say, listen, doc, I'm not going to dig that deep. Like, yes, I want to know why I feel the way that I feel, but when it comes to fixing these issues, I can't go that deep, because then I feel like I'm in quicksand and I'll never get out of the depressiveness of the situation that I was born into. I didn't choose to be born into this situation. I didn't choose my parents. I didn't choose people who were emotionally disconnected and who, have never moved forward in life one single nugget. And so it's not my ability to fix it. I can't fix it. I have to accept my limitations. And so sometimes, even for me, going a little bit too deep with it, I'm like, what's the point? Am I going to get any further ahead? I understand the point, because you asked some very, very, poignant questions this morning. Like, why do you feel this way? Where does that come from? And so my mind started to kind of drift back to how I felt as a child. Did I feel heard and understood and listened to? And, the void was there with those things for sure. But when it comes to like generational trauma, that's where I kind of put the brakes, because I can't do it.
Yeah. I would say that I don't ever expect anybody to want to do it.
Mm.
And I know exactly why people don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of work to do that work emotionally. So I don't ever push people to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you, Sandy, that as someone who has done it,
Mm-hmm.
there's no greater feeling and more liberating experience than to stop carrying around your past, because it's there. You don't get to avoid it. You don't get to compartmentalize it. You can try, but
Mm-hmm.
right, then inevitably something triggers you, something upsets you, something you just keep setting more boundaries and more parameters, right? And you just keep moving forward and trying to create a life around you that feels okay and feels safe. And that's a lot of work. So what I'm going to do is I'll like, maybe I'm giving away my strategy here as a therapist, but I'm going to tell you like, yeah, we don't really need to do that work. And then 5 or 6 sessions in, that theme is going to come up again because your husband, wife, partner said something that triggered you again. And I'm just going to leave it there. And then a month from now, somebody at work said something the same. I was like, oh, that same thing and you got triggered. Interesting. And eventually we're going to go there because eventually what I find is that we all want to heal the deepest parts of ourselves. So I'm also going to have a conversation with people up front of like, of course you don't want to deal with that past stuff because it's painful. That's why most of us don't want to go there because we're afraid that it's going to hurt too much, that we won't be able to come out of it, that we'll be depressed, that we won't recover. And what I can say from having guided people through this process for over 10 years and having guided myself through this process is that that is a big fat lie we tell ourselves to protect ourselves. The thing we're actually needing is to feel the pain and the sadness of not having received the love that we needed when we needed it. To maneuver and walk through the grief of having not had the mother or father or sibling that we needed. Of grieving and feeling through the divorce, the bullying, the whatever the thing was in our lives. Because what I've seen and witnessed is when I don't put expectations on people, when I don't judge them, when I just love them for where they are, eventually they lead themselves to that healing. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that statement of like, oh, there's nothing to look at back there, I just want to move forward, is often just very reactionary. And I get why. I get why. But I also know, and maybe this, maybe this is just my personal opinion, but I've done the healing.
Yeah.
I've put myself through the challenging therapeutic sessions or reading the book that was triggering stuff in me, or doing the learning, whatever it was, going to the retreat, going and meditating, whatever the healing modality was. And I just don't carry that stuff around anymore. Life feels lighter. Life feels happier. Life feels like I can enjoy more of it. There's more gratitude. There's less reactivity. There's less anger. There's less judgment. There's less dissatisfaction.
Yes. All right. This listener says the following: I think women are better communicators because women are more visceral and give tuition, which men don't have. I think they meant intuition. And have intuition, which men don't have. I don't know what they mean by more visceral, though. I'm not quite sure.
I'm not sure either. And my sense is that is just from what I'm reading, a projection. Probably somebody that has encountered many women that often speak, without a filter and can be very emotional. That has nothing necessarily to do with men or women necessarily, but right, like that for me just feels like a reflection of maybe the experiences that they've had more than anything else. But I don't know.
Yeah. And you see, this is a perfect example, if I can hit the pause button, of what I do. Like if I'm reading something and I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what the person means. Yeah. Like I need some clarification. Yeah. So even in a conversation, if you say something to me and I'm like, I don't understand what you mean by that. Yeah. Can you give me an example? And so some people, I think, find that as, are you trying to avoid the conversation? Are you trying to deflect? And I'm not. I'm actually trying to understand what on earth you're talking about.
Yeah. So again, right, like there might be circumstances where, right, let's take this thing of like going back and forth on what is being meant. I might say to you, Sandy, I heard what you just shared, and I feel like I'm still missing maybe all of the information to understand how you're feeling or how you experience that situation. So can you elaborate on that? Versus, well, like I didn't do that, or it didn't go down that way, right? Like notice your response to both of those approaches on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways that we can communicate that lessen somebody else's need to feel triggered or defensive or justified,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so it may be that we're just looking for more information to better understand, but a lot of us also use that as a strategy to defend. And it's important to know which one is unfolding in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if you're just coming at me with a bunch of things that I don't think are real or true, and now I'm feeling defensive, well, instead of telling you, I don't feel like you're accurately reflecting what I think is my reality, and it's making me feel hurt and judged, right? We're not going to say that. That's too vulnerable. I'm going to be like, what do you mean? Where did you get that
Mm-hmm.
from? How did you come to that conclusion?
Mm-hmm.
So often, and this is a perfect example going back to where the conversation sort of started today about children and how we treat them. If we don't teach children how to communicate effectively with their emotions in a raw and vulnerable way at the beginning, this is how we become as adults: ineffective communicators, reactive communicators, defensive communicators. And then we just get stuck in that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And that pattern continues to unfold in our relationships. And then we can't understand why, like, my partner doesn't see me, why I feel so alone in this relationship, why I never feel connected, because we don't know how to ask for what the hell we need and want, because no one ever gave us that. No one modeled it for us in a healthy way.
Mm. Wow. All right. The person goes on to say, I've been accused of nitpicking, but as a Scorpion, I don't like gray areas. I need black or white. So I'm able to control the outcome better. So I see a couple red flags here. Immediately, life is gray. Like, no, for me, life is actually full of color.
Yeah.
A lot of times, 90% of the times, really, or more, there is no black or white. And so you can't have it that clear cut. You can't quite compartmentalize life in that way. Mm-hmm. And then this bit about better able to control the outcome. Life isn't about controlling the outcome, because sometimes we have zero control. Yeah. Sometimes we don't even have control over ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I even love
the outcome.
The Scorpion part there.
Yes.
Right? I think what happens for a lot of us, and we all have ways in which, I'm a man, so I do this. I'm a Virgo, right, so this is how I am. That's just the way I am. These are all justifications that we use to protect ourselves. Right. I also think that if we're not careful, they're very limiting. Like, that to me, like, I feel pained by a statement like that, because it tells me that you can only feel okay in a world that's black and white. And like you just said, Sandy, the world isn't black and white. It's full of gray, full of color, full of a lot of uncertainty, full of a lot of unknowns. And if the only way you can feel okay in the world is around certainty, then, my friend, like, what a tough life it's going to be for you to navigate. So I think a lot of times we need to part ways with these identities that we keep telling ourselves, we're this, we're that. I'm good at math, I'm bad at relationships. Like, we're limiting our just like magnificent capacity as human beings to grow, to evolve, to do more, to be more. Because either this was a story that was sold to us or that we adopted at some point, and it limits us. I think everyone has the capacity to learn how to live in gray. Everyone has the capacity to experience their emotions and feel them. Everyone has the capacity to learn how to communicate effectively, right? None of us are broken by the things that we've been through. They're just part of our story, but we can't sit back and just be like, well, this is who I am because this is what happened to me. No, how do you want to use that to be a better human being, to create more healing in the world, more healing, for the people around you.
All right. It's a deep conversation today. Evelyn says this session is very deep. Miss Marjorie's complaining about audio issues. Please check your source. Maybe you need to restart however you're watching it. I'm not quite sure, but we haven't had any complaints around audio. Cameron, sometimes Cameron speaks in a interesting way. You've got to pick out certain things, but Cameron says Jesus and Socrates are playing a game of dominoes in heaven. Is that streaming? Oh yeah, streaming the cold hard truth right now. CMR to the world and beyond. And that's a compliment. Another question. How do you stop carrying our family trauma around? It's a cousin. It's so deep-seated within us. Is it even possible?
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yes, it's possible. It's possible because I've seen it in my own life. It's possible I've seen it in the lives of the people around me. And it's possible because I help my clients get there. So yes, it is possible. Yes, it is deep-seated. And yes, it's a lot of work. I think that I think it's a choice we need to make at some point in our lives, Sandy. And at some point in my life, I decided I could either keep hating my father and feeling resentful. And, I made this decision while my father was still alive. A lot of us don't get that opportunity, but that's okay. I can continue to not have a relationship with him, continue to be resentful, at some point lose him and not have healed this relationship. I can continue to create boundaries and create distance with my family. I can continue to walk around spiteful and hateful and reactive. Or I can choose to take full responsibility right now for me, for healing me. That I know I can do. I can't heal anybody else, but maybe if I start off by healing me, maybe there's an opportunity here, right?
Yeah.
So by healing me, I evolved. I created a different relationship with my father while he still was around. I forgave him for how angry he was when I was growing up, because I now knew that his father was just as angry, if not angrier. And that my father had lost his twin brother when he was in his teenage years.
Wow.
And that my father's mother died when he was 8 years old. And that my father never had a place to work through his own trauma, understand it, know what to do with it. I forgave my mother for being the way that she was because of a very similar thing. Her dad left her when she was about 7 or 8. And that was the most loving relationship in her life. She had a contentious relationship with her mother, which she didn't sort of figure out. So I forgave the people in my life for all of the things that I was holding them accountable for. I accepted that this was my life and my reality, and that I needed to either decide to heal from it or keep living in bitterness, keep living in resentment. Through that process, my relationship with my mom has evolved in such a way where she used to be the most triggering person to me. The statements she would make, the things that would get under my skin. Now she does that, and I'm not reactive to it because I know that that's part of her stuff, not mine.
Yeah.
As I continued to heal myself, I became a better therapist. I became a better friend, a better partner. Because of the healing on myself, I'm now a dad so different that I would have been 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I've also put myself in a position to help other people navigate. That's why I became a psychologist. Because I saw how much of an amazing and positive impact my own healing had on my life and the life of the people around me that I loved. And I just wanted to help people do that same work in their own lives. So carrying the family trauma isn't about healing everybody's trauma. It's about healing you first. And through that, you become a light, you become a vehicle, you become a vessel. You start to be seen differently by the people around you. When you're anchored in a place of love and compassion and non-reactivity, people can't help but show up to those interactions with you with a different energy, in a different way. And some can't. And some, like there's parts of their own stuff that they won't be able to feel. That's okay. That's their work to do. But you don't have to feel responsible for it. Right?
Yeah. Wow. So they have a follow-up question to this. So they say, so what's the first step? Is it to forgive?
I think that the first step arises for each one of us intuitively. And what I mean by that is maybe take a little bit of time to reflect for yourself in terms of what's the next step. For me, the first step was picking up a book on anger for men. That book taught me that there was some emotional stuff going on that I hadn't been recognizing, like anxiety and depression. That next step led me to start therapy. Therapy led me to reading more books. Therapy led me to going on retreats to better know myself. The next step eventually led to going to grad school so I can get a really much deeper understanding of how all of these things play a role in human behavior and family trauma. And so maybe the first step is forgiving. Maybe it's forgiving yourself for not having done better, known better. Maybe it's, giving yourself a pat on the back for deciding to take the first step in your family, in your own healing. Right? So here, I think here we arrive at a place where I trust that each human individual knows exactly what they need inside of them. And I do, Sandy, believe that like when we get rid of all of the programming, all of the things that we've been talking about, the traumas, the narratives, the conditioning, the cultural stuff, when all of that gets stripped away, we're able to come into our hearts, into our sort of gut, if you will, and tap into that intuition and be like, oh, I've always known what I've needed. I just haven't been paying attention to it because I've been afraid, or I've been doubtful, or I've been, busy saying that I'm, a Capricorn and I don't do those things, or whatever the thing is for you. So I would say trust your inner knowing of what's the next step. Forgiveness, yeah, that's a great one. And it's also a very hard one to do. So if you don't get it right away, give it some time. Right. I've been doing this work on myself for years. And, just this past April, I was on a 10-day silent meditation retreat and just doing some heavy inner work when I finally arrived at a place of feeling that I could finally forgive myself for a lot of the ways that I've been in my past that maybe I didn't want to be because I was angry or bitter or just didn't know. And so, yeah, forgiveness is a great place to start if you can get there. And if you can't get there, also understand that's a really hard one. So give yourself some patience and time around it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the person says, yeah, the bitterness is huge for me. Wow, what an amazing answer. So this is where maybe reaching out to someone like Dr. Carlos can help you navigate how you get there and how you work through it. And that is why therapy is so important. We had a young lady on Monday's show who has been going through some stuff with a pageant. And I'm not really a fan of beauty pageants, I'll be honest with you, for a number of different reasons. But she was talking about some of her experience with the beauty pageant and, how it made her feel. And I was picking up on certain things that were way deeper than just the beauty pageant and her size and being judged about her physical size and this sort of thing. And I actually asked her if she'd ever gone to therapy. It was a pre-question to then saying, we all need a good therapist. I think we should all have one on speed dial. And for some reason that was triggering to her. When I asked that question, she refused to continue the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some people in the comment section who was like, oh, well, I know Johan said that's a personal question. And I said, really? I mean, I didn't see
someone if they have a pastor or like a coach, is that personal? I mean,
yeah. And I'm like, everybody should have a therapist. And if she'd answered, well, she did answer, but then she quickly said, I don't want to have any more of this conversation. I'm done. But, she would have then heard me, if we continue the conversation, I was going to say, every one of us, myself included, can benefit and do benefit from seeking therapy, because there's a lot of things that need to be unpacked. From the relationship with her mother, I picked up on some very, very interesting dynamics. The mother's in the background, overriding the conversation, overriding her. At one point, she even made a comment like, oh, my mom tends to do that. And I thought to myself, well, that's an interesting comment for an adult child to be making. Like, this is your story. This is your journey. This is your opinion. And yet your mother is in the background speaking for you, through you, and controlling or trying to control the narrative in the conversation. And your response was like, oh, she tends to do that. And I think there's so much more to that, right?
I also just want to come back to the statement there that last person wrote was so the bitterness, or they said, the bitterness is huge for me. My sense is, Sandy, that bitterness is warranted, right? Like, let's not judge the bitterness. The bitterness is probably there as a result of something, as the result of maybe having not felt, seen, heard, understood, loved, valued, appreciated. That's the only reason we become bitter, right? And so when I see that word bitterness, like I read that and my heart opens up, because this is probably a really just like amazing human being that, because of the nature of whatever happened to them in their lives, had to become bitter as a way to sort of protect what was going on the inside. And so I think that's when I say let's stay out of judgment, is knowing that like any of the ways that we are as human beings now is a result of something. And that's all therapy is for me. Therapy is the tool that you utilize to figure out what that something was, so that you can have access to it and work through it in a way that feels right for you.
Truly amazing. Thank you so much. We have another listener to the program. Says, I can't fit this on the chat on YouTube, but one of the things that I'd love for Carlos to address is that I understand that a lot of women and men are hurt because the lack of a father or positive role model. However, there's a pervasive, insidious demasculation communication agenda in our relationships. And that is a lot of times is subtle and pushed in the media, very destructive, especially in marriages and relationships. So this is very complex. Even how the words that they've used and how they've worded it. So let's break this down a little bit. So the first part of this, which I think is interesting, is that men and women, so everyone equally, because of the lack of a father or positive male role model, are having issues. I think that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't.
Lack of a father, lack of a mother.
Yeah.
And even like positive male role model. I'll just sort of speak to that. I know, using this as an example, men who are still dealing with some stuff, even though their biological father left, and they might have had a stepfather step in at an early age. Like, yeah, they might have had a really good relationship with that stepfather, but still feel this missing part of like, why did my father not show up for me, right? Because there is an implied understanding, I think, for us as human beings, Sandy, that like a biological mother and father, like their role is to have protected us and to have been around long enough to have seen us not only survive but developed the way that we need to. And so when that feels missing for us, it can create an issue is what I'll say.
Yeah. And there is an anomaly in the sense that, you can have the best step parent in the world, but there's something about humans where we want to find genetically who we are connected to.
Of course. Of course.
So, I find that, people have had great stepfathers and sometimes they're seeking out people who are addicts. They're not good people, but because they're their biological parent, they want to talk to them. They want to see them. They want to be able to touch them. They want some kind of a connection.
An understanding, right? When the brain can't create the closure around a story, there's always this gap. And that gap can just create a lot of, not knowing, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of even anxiety for some of us, because we just need the story to be whole. We need to understand it.
Mm. Wow. The second part of this, if I'm understanding it correctly, is saying that there's a pervasive and insidious demasculation communication agenda. So I have a problem with the word agenda, because to me, that means that there is something afoot purposely being done where men are feeling, and again, it's like, collectively people are doing this, where men are feeling demasculated. So in other words, they're not real men. And for me, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what a real man, like,
Yeah,
I struggle with the terms like demasculation, because why would you feel demasculated? To me,
well, it's a demasculation if what we're holding as the standard is the man that, is again, and I think we're maybe confusing or maybe, right, like the man that is tough is a man that doesn't feel. Like that narrative to me is utter nonsense, right? I think a man that can harness and understand his emotions better is much tougher than a guy who's walking around and super reactive to every little thing somebody tells him. That to me is not being a man. To me, being a man is being a provider. It's being grounded. It's being somebody that can sort of take the lead in relationship. I mean, there's a lot of we have to sort of define what this whole narrative means, right? So I'm a little confused by it myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when people feel like other people are trying to demasculate them, maybe they need to talk about what does that mean exactly for them specifically.
Yeah, I'm just curious a little bit more of like, what is this person referring to? I think I have heard things like on social media that, I don't know, that like men are weaker now or whatever. And I think what's happening is that it's a dissolving of this traditional, maybe healthy, maybe not so healthy ways that we have identified what a man is. And I don't necessarily know that like it has the deeper implications that maybe some of us think that it has. So I'm always happy to have a deeper conversation about this and what people are feeling and thinking and just sort of communicate around some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And perhaps again, this goes back to some of the conversations we had even from the very first episode, where we talk about there are expectations placed on us based on even or gender. Males are supposed to be this way. Females are supposed to be this way. Men think this way. Women feel this way. And that doesn't hold true. There are women who have masculine energy, and it doesn't mean that has anything to do with their sexuality.
Right.
And so when people say that to me, I'm like, well, what is masculine energy? Right. Because someone is strong and straightforward, and maybe they're not as emotional with certain situations, that's considered masculine energy. Like, how did we get there? So I think this certainly there's a lot of things deep in this. And it has very destructive, the end says it's being pushed in the media. because it's an agenda, and that's, and they say that it's subtle, very destructive, especially in marriages and relationships. So if you're in a marriage and in a relationship where you're holding on to traditional roles, and I had to ask this because sometimes we do it, we're not even cognizant of it. And so when we were having that conversation, I remember one of my friends, who's a member of the LGBTQ plus community, she's married, to her wife, and the two of them have children. And one's a step parent. And I remember saying to her, and this is my ignorance, because after I said it, after I typed it in a WhatsApp message, it became very obvious what I had said, because it sounded stupid after I said it. But in the moment, this is just my ignorance. I'm willing to cop to it, right? So I said, well, how do your children cope with your roles of like male and female? Like, are you seen as a dad in the relationship? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how. And they were I think it was a weird question for them. So they were like, maybe that's a question you have to ask the kids, because they didn't even know how to answer it. Yeah. But it's because in my mind, I'm still defining, even within families, these very strict, this is the father does certain things, the mother's responsible for certain things in the family, in the household, in relationships. And so I'm still compartmentalizing how all of this works.
Sure.
And I think for non-traditional relationships where it's like, okay, these are two women and they don't have that male energy, that male figure, I'm thinking, does one of you bring the male energy to the family dynamics, to the household? And then when I typed it, I'm like, well, why does there have to be a male energy? But there is research that shows that it's important for a child to have access to both parents, provided both parents are stable and good influences on the children. You never want children to have access to a man and, they're crazy or they have a more emotional trauma than anything else, because that's not helpful. But for non-traditional relationships, I'm still a little bit confused, I'll be honest with you, about how that works. So I put that question out there to that person because I didn't know. And then afterward, I felt kind of stupid going, well, maybe that's not how it works at all. Maybe there isn't this male energy. So when we talk about masculinity and female energy and stuff, it can be very, very different, because even, there are women, like I said, who might have a more masculine energy and do certain things in traditional families. Maybe she's the breadwinner and the man is staying at home with the kids. And that doesn't make him not a man. That doesn't make him less of a father because he's doing that. But it goes back to these traditional roles that we have kind of grown accustomed to and that we have accepted for so long.
Yeah, I think I'll maybe leave you all this morning with this sort of statement, Sandy, which is, the ways that our parents were doing things 30 and 40 years ago, that's the way they thought it should be, right? Because that was part of the cultural norm. That's kind of was our understanding. And sort of just remembering that we live in a world that's constantly evolving. And so in 20 and 30 years, we'll be looking at, information and data that says, maybe Dr. Carlos was crazy the whole time, what he was, preaching. And so we can do our best with what we know now and give ourselves the permission and compassion to know that lots of things are changing and they're going to continue to change. And how do we continue to evolve with all of that? All that being said, I think the one consistent thing that I've seen is a child that's had at least one person, mother, father, grandparent, auntie, whatever, where they felt seen, heard, loved, and accepted fully, always had a very positive impact and effect on that person's life.
And accepted too. I mean, there's something to be said for acceptance. A few more comments, and then we're going to let Dr. Carlos go. So Jessica says, when your partner consistently shuts down during conversations about your feelings, it's crucial to address the situation with patience and understanding. Close the door and don't look back. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think in any intimate relationship, if you're not having conversations about what you're feeling, you're missing out on maybe 80% of what's actually happening in any given moment. I don't think any one partner gets to decide that's not allowable or that's not okay or you're too emotional. Those are all just reactions. But back to your point earlier, Sandy, I think that there are people. My wife and I just went back to counseling ourselves. She's a therapist, I'm a therapist, but there are still things from each other, patterns and things that show up. So like we have somebody that we go to that can help us see what we're missing.
Right.
So like if you have access to that tool or a
Use
pastor
it.
or however that needs to look in your particular environment, seek
Yes.
that out and find it and use it for support.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to wait until you feel like it's broken or
Exactly.
breaking.
Yeah.
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 All right. Shaq says we have to make peace from our broken pieces.
So
Very,
true.
very poignant. Jim says the working on ourselves never ends or shouldn't end. Thank
Correct.
you so much for that. Shaq says also, I believe the first step is to recognize our generational pathologies and work to break the inherited behaviors and patterns that have been passed down through our DNA. And listen, to Shaq's point, this is not just something high in the ethers.
Yeah.
There is well documented research that has demonstrated that
Epigenetics.
your DNA changes because of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So your people went through trauma, whether it was the Jewish people who went through trauma, whether it was the African American people who went through hundreds of years of slavery, that has been imprinted on your DNA. And that's important to know because your mitochondrial DNA, that's who you are. You can't get any more basic than that. And so that impacts everything. So when we say DNA, we do mean literal DNA. Cameron says, I'm excited and I have an amazing day. Take good care, Dr. Carlos, and thanks for your service and insights. Jim says, therapists are humans too, and that's for sure. Dr. Carlos, another amazing segment with you. These are so amazing.
Thank you so
much. And I think that, September 1st is a big day for our CMR TV family and our journey. And we're going to be having the list of, sort of the EPG, if you will, fill out even more with amazing content creators. We're pushing them to have that as our phase 2 launch date. So Dr. Carlos will then his segment will go into the evening hours. So we were having him here initially in the mornings. We're going to have it's now going to be just Dr. Carlos in the evenings, no part of the Cold Hard Truth. And so that's going to be exciting. Now in September, we're going to do a soft rollout. Dr. Carlos, is the first time you're hearing it because I am traveling, taking another vacation. This is couples only vacay though, so this is just Marlon and I, no Gigi around. And so we're going to be gone for 2 weeks. And what I'm thinking is what we will do to kind of accommodate September is technically you're going to get September off. Okay. Yay, look at that. And we will, because we pulled out your segments, we will air those because we're at least, I think, 4 or 5 episodes in now.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll air those during the month of September. And then you and I will pick back up in October with the evening segment.
Sounds
so, great. Still tune in though, because we're still going to slide his slot in on Wednesday evenings during his slot for the guide. So yeah. Dr. Carlos is absolutely amazing. Irvlyn got a lot from it. She says, therapy after sounds awesome. So folks, remember that you don't have to struggle in your life with mental health and wellness. There are people out there who are trained professionals who can assist you in this journey. And they offer a lot of amazing insight, like Dr. Carlos. Now, a lot of people are like, how can I get a hold of him? Dr. Carlos is transitioning out of, sort of the day-to-day running of his own business as a therapist. And he's kind of passing the mantle on to other people. And he wants to do more of this, where he is in the space where he can literally reach. This show will be watched by thousands of people when it is all said and done, as all of our episodes have been. So he will reach more people. And I think that that's amazing. I saw some of your comments about spoiling the child. Magdalene said, I told a Jamaican church brother several years ago that I wanted us to have a church debate on this spare the rod and spoil the child thing. It does not really mean beating your child. And I've said it before. The Bible speaks in a lot of parables and examples, but nowhere in the Bible have I ever seen the sheep being beaten by the shepherd. And that's the rod. That's the rod of correction. And so the rod of correction in the real world has always been very, very gentle. Mm-hmm. The rod of correction, guides the sheep. The shepherd uses various tools, including dogs, to help him keep the sheep on the straight and narrow. And that's the community, that's the extended family that can help you with your child rearing. So I think we have been misinterpreting so much in the Bible for a really, really long time. And this is one of those passages when it comes to our children. Gentle parenting, you can be firm. This is my position, but gentle. You don't have to yell and scream and curse at your children. Like when I see that, I want to just jump in and hug that child because it's not a necessary component of parenting. And so, we have to learn to do better. And Marjorie, I think as a bigger community, we can delve into this some more. I know we have on this show already. Blissful British also said, I've always wondered about this saying as well, because a rod was used to direct the animals. Never did I thought that it was used to beat all the animals that didn't follow. Good debate request. I would love to hear that outcome. So we'll do it again. We have in the past, but we will do that one again. She also goes on to say that fear is stronger than love. Is another saying I'm interested to hear some meaning on from another person's viewpoint. So let's talk about that maybe, Dr. Carlos, in the next segment, because I think love should be the strongest of all, but let's see why people think that fear is actually stronger. So Dr. Carlos, thank you so much for another amazing show, another amazing segment. Your insights are just amazing. And we will see you next week, Wednesday.
See you next week.
Thank you so much. Have a good one. All right, folks. So that wraps up our segment, and that's going to wrap up what we're going to do here today. Just a reminder that tomorrow I'm heading into knee surgery. So all of your positivity and prayers are most appreciated. Hopefully all goes well. It is a procedure where they will be putting me under general. And so after the procedure, I understand the procedure itself, keyhole, isn't necessarily considered complicated, but you still have to be put under. They're going to put a breathing tube in, all that kind of fun stuff. So I met with the anesthesiologist yesterday. They went through everything. I did blood work yesterday. I did an EKG yesterday as well. So these are all the things that Health City makes you do when you're going to do when you go under general. So I thought that was amazing. I'm like, oh, you need to look at my heart too? Yes, honey, child. Making sure that little heart is ticking okay. So yep, here we go into it. And I'm really hoping that after this, I just have some good relief. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a little bit of pain-free life, honey, child. Jim says the Bible is misinterpreted all the time, many times to fit personal narratives. Yeah, personal and community narratives and the things that we've been taught, to believe. At one point, the Bible was even used to justify slavery. Imagine that. Thank you, Miss Marjorie. I appreciate it. Yes, I'm looking forward to hopefully this resolving my torn meniscus issue. And, I'm just going into it with the understanding that you should not have to live with pain. There's a solution out there for you. And so they also explained that, speaking about that, she said it's going to be sore for a while. The anesthesiologist also said that they will put in some sort of something into the knee, like during surgery, that will help with the pain. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. All right. So I'm doing all my pre-surgical stuff. Like, child, I had to go get my nails done because they were looking like dragon claws. So went to the salon a little bit yesterday. I'm going to go get my hair treated today and, looking good. These are the things you do ahead of surgery. I mean, I don't know. It's weird, but you want to look and feel your best. So I think what I might do, I might actually have her like braid my hair for me because, that I might be hot coming out of surgery or something. I don't know. I'm just like, look your best, feel your best. There you go. It's just a one-day procedure. So I'll be out if all goes well. They observe you a couple in the recovery area for 1 or 2 hours, and then you get driven home. And so I'm going to have some chicken soup and kick up my feet, and I'm going to watch some TV. So tomorrow, do not call me. You can WhatsApp me to say hi and check in. That's fine, but don't call me because I'm not answering any phone calls tomorrow. And Friday, I'll play it by ear in terms of how I feel. So I'm not sure if we're going to have a show on Friday yet. So no show tomorrow. Friday, maybe. But you see, the Friday show be so turned up that I kind of don't want to do a Friday show because I'm like, oh, God, I'm going to make my knee start hurting again. So I might just take it easy on Friday as well. Here's the plan for next week. Oh, my birthday is coming up in 5 days. Is it 5 days? The 18th? Whoop, whoop. So my birthday falls on, let me just put up the calendar here. What day is that? The 18th is Monday. Oh, no, you didn't. My birthday's on Monday? Child, I was going to do the TAB show, Tourism Attraction Board, which is now some other authority. I was actually planning on doing that on Monday, not realizing that was my birthday. Let me think about it. I'm not sure. Let me think about it. I might, because no better day to tell the cold hard truth than on my birthday, child. But that show's coming. I've been doing a lot of research. So whenever I speak on what's happening over there, I really wanted to speak from as much of an informed position as I possibly could. I don't want to be uninformed or hearsay or this, that. I mean, I have to come good. And so I've been doing a lot of research on it, yeah. Remember when I did the ones on the Port Authority? That place is still a mess, by the way. This reminds me of that a little bit in terms of the scope and magnitude of what is happening there. And no one seems to be addressing it. Thank you, Island Pearl. Yes, they're going to put in a beta blocker in the knee as well, which will help with the pain. Thank you so much. So thank you, Ms. Morna, for your positivity about the knee surgery. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate it, my darling. Thank you, Miss Marjorie. No nail polish. Well, I have it on my toes, but I have a very light one on my nails. I don't think I have to take it off. Well, anyway, the experts are there to monitor all your vitals and stuff. You hear him talking about vanity is a sin. Taking care of yourself is not vanity. You don't have to look like you're 85 years old when you're 50, I'm just saying. So you can still take care of yourself and you can look good. And that doesn't mean that that's vanity, right? And all things, moderation. Mm-hmm. Yes, this nail polish thing. I have to ask the anesthesiologist. I've heard about this before because they say that there are certain things that your nails will tell them during when you're under general. But I think probably the machines tell them a lot too. So if they're really paying attention to the machines, but I do have on a very light, faint color. It's like almost a nude color. So yeah. Oh, they took off the clear polish as well? Let me inquire. Anne says, no, you can wear polish nowadays. Yeah, I think it's more the machines that they have access to and that sort of thing. So, okay. There's a stolen Toyota. How is this pronounced? Hiace or something? It's one of those vans. We posted that on social media this morning. Please have a look at it. If you have seen it, please step forward, honey chow. All right. That's all we got. You guys have a good day. There was an accident this morning. We'll post that one up here in the Savannah area, I think. Y'all look crazy with the accidents. Like, whoo, I don't know what to say. Learn to drive better. Wowee. All right. Look at this regional news. Trinidad and Tobago removes statue of Christopher Columbus. Take that. Good morning, sir. How are you? No. Oh, this person is reminding me of my 50 by 50. Oh, Jesus. We ain't gone nowhere, honey child. Lord Jesus. They're like, now it's 50 by 52 or 53. Are we ready to check in? What an embarrassment. It is the one area of my life right now where I feel like I have failed. I really have failed. But past failures and current failures don't mean future failures. So I can do this. I can do this. Let me sort out my knee, because for me, exercise is an integral part of it. But yes, I need to figure out what's going on with my stomach as well, and eating better, and so forth and so on, and yada, yada, yada. But yes, thank you for the reminder. Lord Jesus, take the wheel. That's a good one. No, I don't think you need to take it off anymore. They don't have that on the list of stuff, Miss Lucille. Let me ask AI. Do you need to take off nail polish before general anesthesia surgery? Let's see what Chat GPT says. Generally, you don't have to remove fingernail polish or toenail polish before surgery under general anesthesia for purely medical reasons. But many hospitals ask you for safety and monitoring purposes. Here's why. Oxygen monitoring. During surgery, doctors use a pulse oximeter, which is a clip on your finger to measure your oxygen levels. Dark or thick nail polish, especially on the index finger, can sometimes interfere with accurate readings. Oh, so it's that little thing that they put on. Circulation checks. If there's an emergency, doctors check the nail beds for color changes that indicate blood flow or oxygenation. Hold on, this word is oxygenation? No. Hold on. This one's giving me a tricky time here. Hold on. Oxygenation. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Oxygenation. Okay, there we go. It was giving me a warm time just now. Let's see. Oxygenic. Hold on. We gotta get this word right. It's a tongue twister for some reason. Hold on. We're gonna learn how to pronounce it. Here we go. We're gonna listen to it. Oh, I'm not hearing anything. Hold on. Oxygen. Oxygen. You have to. Oxygenation. Okay. It's like you have to take your time with this word. Oxygenation. Would you like me to be your workout buddy and dietitian? Anytime you're ready, Jim. Anytime you're ready. We can do it. Yes. Workout buddies are good. Oxygenation. Thank you, Shaka. It was just twisting up. So yes, going back to the original question. Sterility and infection control for surgeons, for surgeries on your hand or feet. We're not doing that. You may want nail polish to be clear or acrylics to clean the area thoroughly. So we're not doing that. If you have regular nail polish, many facilities just ask you to remove it from one finger, usually on each hand rather than all nails. No, I don't do acrylic, gel, or any press-on stuff because those would need to be removed. Yeah, okay. Okay, or Kirks. Someone said remove it for safety. Okay. All right, that's it. That's all she wrote. Bop, bop. Beautiful people, go out there and live your best life and get lots of oxygenation. Take that. Yes, I love when you spell it phonetically. Oxygenation. Then it starts to roll. I don't do gel anymore. Chanel, I found that gel really destroyed my nails. Even now, they're not growing as thick and whatever. They're more brittle. They're more apt to like chipping and stuff. And I always had very strong, like an ox kind of nails. So the gel, because of the removal process with the gel, I can't do gel. So I do it on my toes still, to be fair. I do it on my toes so it lasts longer, but I can't fool with it on my nails anymore. So that's why I keep them short too, because they get kind of brittle. Hello, caller. You waited until the 10th hour to call in?
Yes, because I just wanted to put a little topic there. Maybe you can discuss it because but Miss Sandy, good morning, sorry.
Good morning.
And good morning, people.
Yes.
People. I just want to bring something to your attention.
I gotta tell you, I love your accent. I just love how you sound so much like a Caymanian. Go ahead, honey chill.
I got something to bring to your attention.
Uh-huh.
I don't hear nobody complain about it yet. But have you seen the book list for these preschools?
Book list for preschools? What do you mean book list? What kind of book list?
Well,
you mean the list of materials?
Requirements.
Oh, yeah, every year we complain about that, child. I'm getting tired of complaining about that. And by the second grade, you realize that you don't need all that foolishness every year.
But I mean, if they're in primary, I understand. But I'm talking about a little preschool.
Oh, geez.
Miss Sunday, this is ridiculous. I'm looking for the list number. I know I sent it to you, but I wanted to catch you when you're coming off because I didn't want you, talk on the topic right now. But I just wanted to bring it up again. Can we just ask these preschools to be very considerate? And another thing I want to bring to their attention, some of us, like myself, can't afford the preschool. So I reaches out to places like ECAP to help me. There's no shame in my game. So if you see a child like mine coming in from ECAP, you don't know I can't afford that school fee, right? So it must tell you that I can't afford that big list that you got lining out of these whole pile of things.
Yeah,
so where the
kind of ridiculous
is for people like me.
Yeah.
Yes, Mom, we need to talk to them and someone need reach out to them. It's ridiculous. And if it's 100 children in the school, it's 100 of them bringing you this. So you got supplies for years. You can sell back to Foster's and all these places if you ask me. But that's just my little 2 cents I put in there. I'll wait to hear if you get time to talk about it. But yes, Mom, it's ridiculous. I'll send you the list as well.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous, though, Miss Annie. It's back to school and we're pressured now, man.
Yeah.
They need to have some leniency. But thank you, darling. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Morning. Bye.
All right. So maybe that's Friday if we have a show. But yeah, every year it's the same conversation with these book lists. And not book lists, but supplies lists. What a mess. I can't even. Oh, no, sir. I see Miss Sabrina Turner posted a series of photos an hour ago where she is in bed with this blonde man. Y'all wait till I show you this one. Where is her husband this morning? Where's Eric? Because Eric needs to see that she in bed with this blonde man and with pretty eyes. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on here? Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra. I hope you're okay.
Yes, sir.
I sent you some pictures and a video just a little while ago. Last night I was walking home on Conch Point Road, and I usually walk facing traffic, but something the good Lord told me to walk with the flow of traffic. So I looked over on the side of the road as I passed, and here were 2 little innocent kittens.
Aww.
Some wicked person dropped off on the side of the road to be killed by the cars. I just don't understand the mentality of some people when they have pets. I mean, you just don't drop off 2 kittens on the side of the road to die.
No. Oh my God.
Yeah. The 2 little kittens, I think they're 2 little girls. One is kind of feisty, with their for balling, and the other little one is chill, calm, and relaxed as ever. I've contacted the Humane Society. I'm waiting for them to give me a call back because I can't keep the two little
bless
kittens.
you.
Because I'm
listen,
allergic
just
to
take them. Yeah, people, listen.
It
is tough.
I mean, it is sad. It broke my heart.
Yeah, and there are people who can't afford to have animals. I mean, in the U.S. right now, the animal facilities in the U.S. are packed because so many people, the economy is tanking there, and they're giving them up for adoption. But there was one where I read this one a couple weeks ago. The owner abandoned the dog, and the dog was found chasing the owner down the highway. And I think somebody got footage of it, and that poor dog, of course, broke everybody's heart. And it's since been adopted into a good home. But you don't have to just abandon your dogs,
your pets, or your cats.
Oh yes, my God.
I mean, if you could just put up the little picture. I took a video of them last night.
Okay.
After I got back home, and it's 8 minutes long. But when you see the love these two little kittens have, I'm going to ask the Humane Society if please don't separate them, because they're just, they're at the stage where they can take care of themselves. But when I picked them up, I took my T-shirt off last night, put my backpack on the grass, and I just looked at them, and I was in tears, and I said, well, you're going to go home with me. So I took my shirt off and wrapped them up. And when you see the love in that video of these two little kittens, I mean, I don't understand humans. I really don't anymore, because I see so much of this. But in all of my years down here in Westwood, this is the first time I've come across this. And it really broke me, because I'm a lover of pets.
Yes.
And these two innocent little kittens don't need. They were basically 1.5 foot on the grass from the public road.
Oh my God.
And it was in front of there by just before you got to the Spanish Bay Reef. And I picked them up, and I smelled perfume on them. So whoever dropped them off, I mean, Sandra, they're well cared
Maybe
for.
Maybe they gave them a little bath or something beforehand. But you don't have to dump them.
They're clean. And it's a shame, I mean, and it breaks my heart.
Thank you so much, caller. You don't have to. Don't dump them. All right, my dear.
No. Goodbye.
All right, darling.
Thank you.
So Bye-bye. You don't have to dump your pets, but I want to get back to this. This is going to be a scandalous story today with Sabrina Speaks host Sabrina Turner. Look at this man she in bed with. Look at this. Like, really? Blonde hair and green eyes, He has the prettiest eyes. Oh my God. This is Chance. This is her boyfriend, and his name is Chance. See how she hugging up with Chance? I gotta tell Eric, while he's at work, this is what's going on in his house. Lord Jesus. Chance is so adorable. OMG. He is just, I could just hug him to pieces. So we have to arrange a play date with Chance and Zeus, because they're just so sweet. Oh my God. But Chance is bringing the blondness. Like he just got he looks like a little blonde man with his little blonde hair. And you know what? Somebody has one of Chance's siblings, because they shared a picture recently with Chanel. And I was like, your dog Chanel looks awfully familiar to me. I said, where did you get Chanel? And when they told me, I'm like, that is the same litter as Chance. It's their brothers and sisters. And sure enough, honey chill, I was right, because when they said this is who I got it from, I said, oh my God, they're siblings. So you can see, I'm going to show you the pictures. You can see, hold on, let me see if I can get this picture. Look at this. That's Chanel. And that's Chance. Like, hello, they look like the exact same dog. Right? So cute. They have the prettiest little eyes and the, super light color. The nose is like brown instead of black. They are so adorable. So this is Chanel. And this is her brother, Chance. So cute. Jim says Sabrina apparently likes her man hairy. Jim reminding all of you to tune in this evening Yes, I got to start doing more promotions of Sabrina's show, like on my show, because she has some great guests and great topics. But this evening, she is going to have one dog at a time, really about the same topic of awareness and how they're trying to save one dog at a time. And they try to rehome, rehabilitate, and really assist the dogs in particular. But there's options for cats and stuff as well. So Emma, let's see if we can get to that topic maybe next week. Along those lines, let me just say to all of the ministers and government officials who are doing their annual back to school drives, including Wayne Panton and his crew. I'm gonna actually post this. I was trying to get it copied last night, but I wasn't having any luck. Wayne Panton this evening is having a what do you call it now? Lord. Miss Brenda, hold on one second. I'm having a brain fart. He's having a back to school drive this evening. So if you are in the Newlands area, Newlands, Savannah area, because I know him and Heather shared an office and they work together collaboratively on these. They're doing back to school supplies this evening from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. So I'm going to jettison over there and have a quick visit. But yes, coming out this evening. Now, please remember, only take what you need. I'm sick and tired of people. Some of y'all take everything and you go out there, be trying to sell it and whatever. Don't take advantage. If you don't need something, like I go to these things all the time and people are like, oh, take this for Gigi. I said, Gigi don't need nothing. She is not in need of anything. And I do mean that. She has everything she needs and wants pretty much. We are grateful for the offer, but we're not a family that is in any significant financial need. We've been blessed with two capable parents who can work and hustle out here and do what we got to do. Child, I'm driving a luxury vehicle. Don't be handing me this bag of school supplies. Y'all should slap me if I even take it. We don't need it. Let children who actually need it, whose parents are not as fortunate, to be able to, take advantage of these things. So a lot of the MPs do it. Big shout out to the Newlands and Savannah community. Theirs is this evening. Miss Brenda, what is on your mind?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Yes, I'm doing okay. Getting ready for my little surgery tomorrow, but otherwise, I'm good.
All right.
Yes.
Before I get to your surgery, I need to ask you a question.
Oh, yes.
If my iPad is misbehaving,
oh Lord,
does that mean it's time for me to buy a new one?
Depends on what you mean by misbehaving. Depends on what it's doing.
When I'm trying to listen to you, it's glitching. So
that's probably. And how are you listening to me? Through the YouTube app on your iPad?
No, on Facebook.
On Facebook. I am willing to bet that that's probably more internet related than the iPad itself. No?
Because if I pick up the phone, I can listen to you there without interruption while the iPad is glitching.
Have you tried listening to anything else on the iPad and have the same glitching problem?
Yeah, the same thing is happening. So I noticed it the other day. Sandra, you can hear that. I was trying to look at an excuse to buy a new iPad.
We would have to troubleshoot that for you first before I'm going to make you waste your money on that.
This iPad is old. My little IT people would have said, Nana, it's time to buy a new one. Okay? That's what that means. Nana, when it's like that, it means it's too old. They're my little IT people.
Well, not necessarily. So I'm not encouraging you to spend the money.
No, that wasn't the diagnosis they gave me on this one because I haven't called them to check it out for me.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna check it out for you because I believe that may not necessarily be the case. That's not normally an indication of something like that. That's something else that's going on, is what I believe. But let me look at it. I'm gonna look at it for you.
Usually I don't just change a phone or whatever or any device just because it's a newer one. I change it when it needs to be changed.
Yeah.
So it would be fair to say that my stuff is probably older than a lot of other people's. However, I just find it strange that, I get you or anything on the phone without interruption, but as soon as I start watching it for a bit, then I don't know if it's getting hot, because I feel it and it feels a bit hot, and then like it stops.
Do you have it? Do you have it in a case as well?
Yeah, but I open it's one of those book style cases, but I open it. I don't even because I used to fold it over, and then I stopped doing that because I say, okay, well maybe this is what's causing it to get hot.
Your apps on your iPad are updated, so the Facebook app is updated, iPad itself is updated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. We'll do a little tech segment for you to see what's going on, but I doubt it's the iPad itself, because
it's okay.
Watching a video on Facebook, I was going to say watching a video on Facebook doesn't require much resources on an iPad, so I kind of don't feel like that's what's going on. But we can troubleshoot it for you. We're going to have a tech segment doing that kind of fun stuff.
The version I have is, and I mean, you know more about this than me. I think mine is got generation 6. So
how old is that?
Well, my God, I know. I'm not sure where they're at now.
Yeah, that's sounding kind of old. Yeah.
That's what I said. So anyway, like you said, I'm not looking at an excuse to spend my money. But if that's the case, if I need an update, then because my grandchildren refused when I bought this one, because I wouldn't make them use this. I said, you can use that one, which is the older one. And they said, Nana, that one's glitching. That's where you had to change it, Nana. So when we use it, it glitches on us. So they won't touch it.
Lord, so, might be time for retirement, but let me look at it first and see.
Okay, so moving on to your surgery, because I didn't get to wish you well and stuff with that yesterday. And I must say to you, I'm thoroughly confused with the days, because you didn't know this at the time, but you know it now. I was off island. Sorry. So I came back to the island Monday night. However, the whole time I was saying, oh my goodness, I should have told Anya to pick me up something from the supermarket yesterday, meaning now Saturday. So I came in and got home. Bottles were still open. But in my mind, I'm still thinking it is Sunday night. So then I woke up yesterday morning and I thought it was Wednesday. So I was doing everything, and then I said, well, why is this not happening today? Did they not, And suddenly it hit me. It's not Wednesday, Brenda. That's why it's not going on. So that's why I almost missed my cricket match. Okay? By the way, we won.
You won yesterday?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Yes. And it was a convincing win. So that hats off to them. But anyway, just wanted to say to you, Sandra, that wanted to wish you well with the surgery. And I know you don't know what to expect, so I'm not going to get into any of that because I don't do that. And because if a person needs to do surgery, and I've had that surgery done, I don't care, what my experience was with it, except for good results. I'm not sharing that with the patient because I'm not going to discourage them from doing something they need to do. But I just want to say, I did do knee surgery also, and mine turned out really, really good. And I'm sure the doctors have told you that you either got walking crutches or a walker or something.
No, like did you? What kind of knee surgery did you do? Was it knee replacement or?
No. I didn't do a replacement. I had a torn meniscus and a torn ligament in the same knee. So.
That's much more serious too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I only have a torn meniscus, but yeah, wow.
Okay, so that's not minor. In case you didn't know that, because the meniscus is torn. And by the way, I want to say I could have diagnosed that for a long time ago. I kept telling you needed to have that knee prop protector because the way I heard you complaining about that, I knew that's what was going on. Anyway, but like I said, I'm not in the habit of diagnosing people, so I can diagnose myself, but I can do that. I diagnose myself with many things seriously. So that's why I make it clear to doctors, I'm not a textbook case. and stop telling me because I've reached a certain age that I said that may be happening to that person, but not to me. Even when I did my knee surgery, then the doctor was talking to me and he was saying, oh, well, because, this age, there's going to be some arthritis. I said, I don't have arthritis, okay? Stop telling patients that. Stop telling everybody they got acid reflux, blah, blah, blah. I said, I do not have arthritis. Anyway, after the knee surgery was done, he looked at me and he said, I have a confession to make to you. I said, what's that? He said, you're absolutely right. There was no arthritis in your knee. I said, and I told you that. I said, now that's a lesson to stop telling people that are past a certain age that they got it because somebody else has it. I said, that comes to the people that can get it, not to everybody. And that will go by age. And I had a really, really good recovery. I must say I had a great surgeon. And the doctor that put me to sleep, kudos to him, because I'm afraid of needles. Oh, my God. And so when they figured that out, you know what he even did? I didn't know you could do this. He actually put me to sleep first. He made me go sleep first. And then he set up my drip. And I didn't know that that could be done. So, but he did tell me you can't do it for every patient. It all depends on height, weight, and stuff like that. So, but I'm glad I could get it done because I fell into the category of size and so on. And like I said, I am so afraid of needles. I'm serious. They got to give me a sedative to get the needle, the drip hooked up. Now, people say, but Brenda, I don't understand this because you've done. I said, yeah, but I was asleep when they did that. I said, I got to get past the needles first. So if you are not afraid of needles, then you're okay. If you think.
Well, I think everybody don't like needles, to be honest. I've met a person who likes them yet.
Some don't bother some people. I'm horrified of needles. Let me tell you how I am with that. When I'm in hospital and they got a dripper, I got to keep that arm covered. I cannot even see the arm that has a needle in it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell. I was like that when I was a child. When we used to have to go and get our vaccination, we were lined up, and then I'm in the middle of the farm. So when it came to me, I kept stepping back. So eventually I was the last one. And when it got to me, I would take off and run in. And they would have to chase me around the hospital to catch me. And sometimes they had to call Dad to come.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not embarrassed about it because I'm still afraid of them. And I do believe that it gets worse with age. So that didn't get any better for me. But I just want to wish you well.
Thank you.
And want to wish you a really good recovery. And please listen to what the doctors have told you to do and not to do. And the most important part of it afterwards is your therapist. So
yes, that's absolutely
going to be a major part. So I take it you're doing it up at Sheddy's?
Yep. I'll be there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I didn't do mine there. But, and like I said, I was very happy with the doctor that did mine. And I'm very happy with the result. So,
thank you, my darling. Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, folks. That's all she wrote for today's program. Just a quick comment, really. Justice says, I'm late to the show, so it must go on until 12 o'clock. On this issue of school supplies and helping and so on. Well, Evelyn says Sabrina's show is hot. She's enjoying it. Mr. Amelia says anything on saving one human at a time. Well, there are lots of programs from R3 to Big Brothers, Big Sisters. The majority of programs are actually meant to save one human at a time. So don't be knocking the few animal charities that exist, Mr. Amelia. They're needed too. And it's because of human beings not doing what the hell they're supposed to be doing why the animals need as much care. If y'all would go and fix your dogs, spade and neuter them, we would not have such a wild animal control issue going on. So you got to be blaming the humans for that problem. So we create the problem, we better try and fix the problem. So lots of things out there for people. So yeah, and I'm not buying that foolishness. If dogs and cats are not your thing and people are your thing, then work with people. There's lots of people that out there need help, and there are a lot of people who are getting help. So spray and neuter your dogs and get them microchipped and stuff as well. That's what responsible pet owners do. Hello, Paul, joining us from Bermuda. And yes, those of you who are able to give, I have a man who's come forward who's going to be giving out some donations, but he wants me to handle it for families in need. Now, listen, if you reached out to me before and you remain a family in need, I am going to tell you that you need to look at the crux of why you're always in need. You need a helping hand, a help up in life. Constantly being in need means that there's something fundamentally wrong with how you've got your life structured, your budget, your finances. And when someone reaches out to me and they say that they're in need and they need help feeding their children, and I do background checks these days, because I don't believe in none of y'all, to be honest. And then I reach out to my sources and they say, yeah, but she can afford to go up to Northwood to be visiting man and taking man cigarettes and whatever up in Northwood. Do not message me if you're that type of mother. In fact, you should relinquish your children to the system so that we can put them in a good home. Because you don't want those children. You're using those children to use other people to get shit in life, and that's wrong. Now, if you're out here hustling and you're having a hard time, you're working a job, you're keeping your job, you're showing up on time, you're doing your part, and maybe you're one of those people in that position where you're just not making enough money, that means we need to talk to you about how to upskill yourself. And it's called education. You got to get some education. You got to get a piece of paper, something that can allow you to then elevate into a next position in life. Because you're always going to be at the bottom in terms of minimum wage. So help yourself, and we will help you if you are helping yourself. But don't feel entitled to people's assistance and to help and to public funds, et cetera, et cetera. That ain't going to work. All right, so I will see you guys not tomorrow, possibly on Friday. Big shout out to Little Chance. I miss you. I got to come visit you. And Chanel, who have not yet met, arrange a play date with Chanel for me. I'd like to meet Chanel as well. You guys have a fantastic afternoon, and I will see you guys when I see you. All right, honey. Lavonna says, please give yourself a kaboom. Well said. Kaboom! See you later, alligator. And a wild crocodile.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.